The Lord Mayor. City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday, 9 December 2025. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the Council, including transferring outside Australia.
Good evening. Council acknowledges that we're meeting on the traditional country of the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains and pays respects to elders past and present. We recognise and respect their cultural heritage, beliefs and relationships with the land. We acknowledge that they are of continuing importance to the Kaurna people living today, and we also extend that respect to other Aboriginal language groups and other First Nations people who are with us this evening. The Council acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site of Adelaide and the design of the city with its 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage and empathy, understanding and guidance in the decisions that we make, while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly, and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. I now ask all those present to stand in silence in memory of those who give their lives in defence of their country, at sea, on land and in the air. If you're able to, please stand in the gallery. We'll now stand in silence for a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Before we begin the meeting, I'll just say that I'll be changing the order of the proceedings so that the people in the gallery who I think are interested in Hutt Street won't have to sit through the whole meeting, and we'll deal with that matter first. Though of course you're very welcome to stay as long as you like. The only thing I ask in the gallery is that you could be careful. I know it's sometimes tempting to stand up and wave things. Can you be very careful of the paintings near you and not touch them in any way because they're fragile, some of them. Thank you. I'll now move through the agenda. We have apologies from the Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Snape, but everyone else is present. Could I ask if someone would move confirmation of the minutes? Councillor Marr, seconded by Councillor Abrahimzadeh. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Does anyone have a declaration of a conflict of interest? Councillor, yes, Freeman.
Thank you, Lord.
Then Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. The usual declaration of 2 general conflicts for me with items 16 and 18.6 relating to Main Street upgrades, which at some point will seek approval from DIT, which is my primary place of employment, but not processes that I have any involvement with, and will remain in the room to participate in the debate and the vote.
Thank you, Councillor, and you've filled out the form. Councillor Martin.
Yes, Lord Mayor. I will declare a material conflict of interest in the discussion of item 18.1, the sculpture plan for the exterior of Her Majesty's Theatre, as I am a member of the board of the Adelaide Festival Trust, which is also included in the project. I will manage the conflict by leaving the room and taking no part in the discussion.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other conflicts? No, thank you. We'll move on to the next item. We've had several requests for deputations. I think we got to 9 or 10. And so what I've done is select 3, one from each group of interests, and I'll ask the council to support that when we go through these 3 members. So the 3 who were the first requesters to speak were Mr. Peat, Ms. Bannon and Mr. Logue. So could I ask if Mr. Peat would like to come forward first?
Lord Mayor, I'd like to move that we do hear from all of the deputation requesters this evening.
You have every right to move dissent from the Chair's decision. Can I ask if it's seconded? Seconded by Councillor Freeman. Do we have any debate or
I do have something to add to that.
Please do.
As you know, I was the chair of the IPW meeting last week. Received several of these deputation requests, and I declined them all with the same reasoning that we will be at council on December 9. We'll have open debate on all options. At the IPW meeting, we were only presented with the B+ and E+ options. And this issue, as I see it, boils down to doing option D and something else. Option D wasn't present on the agenda last week, so it would not be appropriate to hear those arguments last week at the committee. That's why it's more appropriate we hear them tonight at council, and those who did not put in a formal request last week did put in their request this evening for council. I received a lot of criticism for this, particularly off the back of my involvement with Save the Cranker. Save the Cranker was put up as a perfect example of amplifying community voices, but that was not the point of or why it was successful. Save the Cranker was successful because it engaged with its government in good faith manner. I've given this same advice to others, and I'll just replicate it now for the benefit of all in the gallery. There are, in my view, 6 elements that you need to satisfy to have a successful community campaign, and none of those elements involve being the loudest person in any room. The first one is to get in the right room at the right time. The second one is to point out the issues as impartially as possible. The third is to back it up with fact and data, and if you haven't got it, get it.
I think you're veering away from the topic under debate. We're just talking about dissent from the Chair.
This is to hear the people who would wish to speak and the reason why they are speaking tonight instead of last week.
I know, I think we've grasped that, but for the sake of brevity, let's just make a decision whether we're going to vote on this, because otherwise we'll be here all night. So,
I think these groups have taken this on board and in an effort to engage with their government in good faith have tried to be heard this evening, and we're not here last week to be heard. Those who did choose to speak last week were heard with dissent from the Chair, and I believe it is only fair that those who were not present last week in an effort to engage with their government in good faith are heard this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Peat, this may take some time. Would you just like to sit down?
Oh, yes,
because
okay,
I
sure.
don't wish to wear out your patience here. I'm sorry. Did the Chair just there? You don't need to go back. You could just sit there. Hopefully we'll get you up soon. Let's not go around the whole room and debate this for half an hour. Let's just see if the seconder wants to say anything, and if anyone wants to speak against the motion.
Yeah, I would just very briefly like to speak to this. I'm aware that when this matter came to the chamber last in August, there was quite a bit of upset in the community due to deputations not being heard at that time. I do think we have a duty to hear some of those voices tonight, perhaps not all, considering we did hear 2 deputations last week. Perhaps there's 2 additional deputations we could hear in addition to this list. I'm not sure what else is on that list of 10 and whether there is some alignment between those deputations that can be coordinated. But I do think that that would be fair, considering what's transpired in the last week.
Can I just point out that you've seconded the motion to hear them all? So is there anybody going to speak against hearing everybody? Councillor Kouros, and then we'll move on if we can.
I think it was an opportunity at a last committee meeting to have everyone presented there to be able to speak. I think, Lord Mayor, you have presented before us a very balanced viewpoint and I think each member there could speak on behalf of every person with a different viewpoint. And I think that in the interest of time and the amount of people that are in the gallery and the opportunities that they had at the August meeting, the opportunity they had at the last week or last committee meeting, there was plenty of opportunity for more to speak. We could have a variance of speakers tonight. but that has not happened. And to listen, I think what you said was 9 requests in 5 minutes each. I don't think that would be appropriate way to conduct our meeting, considering that there are 3 before us with different points of view.
So is there another point of view from here? Councillor Giles will take the vote.
I just think it's quite amusing to hear the different debate from last week to this week about whether or not people should have a right to be heard from the community. There was a very strong position put by Councillor Couros last week that people should be allowed to be heard in the community. Let's not change the rules tonight, and let's open up and hear from everybody who would like to say something.
Thank you. So we'll put now. We'll now take the vote on dissent from the chair, which is the decision was to allow everybody who wants to speak to speak. So all those in favour of the dissent? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Dissent. We'll go through the names in order, but we'll take Mr. Peat first.
She's called a division.
A division's been called.
Members, a division has been called. Please stand in favour of the motion until your name is called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Giles, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Marr, Councillor Davis, Councillor Noon and Councillor Abraham today. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Mr. Peat, I'm sorry we've been messing you around. Would you like to come back? Thank you very much. Can I ask you if you'd be able to speak for 5 minutes and then we'll ring the bell? Thank you.
Yes, it may even be shorter than that. Critical Mass Adelaide is Australia's first chapter of the global critical mass movement. We represent families across Adelaide who want decision makers to prioritise safer, cleaner and healthier active transport options. Our annual city-based demonstration brings together hundreds of people in joyful, family-friendly rides to reclaim road space and show what's possible. We work with local authorities to create safe environments for children and families, something that's currently not possible due to car dominance and lack of protected bike riding infrastructure. And I also represent Bike Adelaide, which is an advocacy group promoting active transport. Research shows that most children want to ride or walk to school, for example, and most parents agree, but safety concerns prevent it. Active transport improves health, reduces emissions, improves air quality and supports local businesses. Now, coming back to the Hutt Street design, we believe that the original Concept D was the best practice. It realigned the car parking to create wider paths for walking and outdoor dining. So the first step was that it made much bigger footpaths. The second thing, and I think it's absolutely vital, is that it has separated bike paths, separated not just from the traffic, but separated from the pedestrians. One of the things we see around the place is that shared paths, Ausroads, which is a peak body for the design of transport systems, no longer supports shared paths because a successful shared path is a disaster where you have pedestrians and cyclists and micro-mobility and electric scooters and, you know, all those things all mixed up together. It's a disaster. So actually the reason for having a separated bike path is as much to protect the pedestrians as it is to protect the cyclists from the traffic. Now, separating the cyclists from the traffic is terrific because cyclists like that, and if they've got their children cycling with them, they want to be on a protected bike path. So that's a no-brainer, really, from the cyclist point of view. But increasingly people who, if we have a cycle path on the road, increasingly people are, my observation anyway, a lot of people are trying to get off the road and end up riding on the footpath. And these are Deliveroos, Pandas, you know, Uber riders delivering food. They're all riding up and down the footpath of the parade anyway, right, because they think it's too dangerous to be on the road. So I think a separated bike path is absolutely essential. The separated bike path, of course, morphs into the separated bike paths which exist in the parkland. So the beautiful thing about Hutt Street is it's surrounded by the parklands, Victoria Park on one side and the southern parklands on the other side, and they already have separated bike paths that are very safe and very family friendly. So if you imagine if you've got your family cycling along on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning, and you can then, not only you can reach South Terrace and then you can cross over into an equally safe area where there's destinations. There might be coffee shops, it might be ice cream shops, it might be clothing shops, it might be all sorts of joints. But it becomes a destination. So I see Hutt Street at the moment as being a bit of a wasteland. It could be a much more vibrant destination, and people could come from various directions, not to mention all the new buildings that are going up in the city where people will be living there. I talked about that, connect the bike lane to the parkland. So only option D provides wide footpaths. So if there's no bike lane on the road, then the type of parking is really of no great consequence to the cyclists because they're not riding outside of the parked cars. I know a lot of my colleagues are very against angle parking, but if there's no bike path, towards the middle of the road, then it doesn't matter. If the bike path is separate, it doesn't matter. What else do I get to say? Separated bike path, cars are parked. The revised design is a compromise. This apparently a revised design that preserves the bike lane and some public space, but it's not as strong as Concept D, which would have delivered greater benefits for all users of this public space. Continuing delays and continuing revisions are lost opportunities to get on with the project, basically. Critical Mass Adelaide strongly supports preserving the bike lane, separated from both cars and pedestrians, my 5 minutes, and maximising public space. We urge Council to move forward now with a future-focused design that reflects best practice and community priorities. I thank you for your attention.
Your patience, Mr Peake. Thank you very much indeed. Can I ask the gentleman...
I love horses.
Can I ask the gentleman in the gallery...
I want a sand track to ride a horse through the city.
I move for an adjournment of 2 minutes.
I will adjourn the meeting. We will close the meeting down. Seek adjournment. Thank you, councillor. Seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. We'll close the meeting. Thank you. If we could sit down. If I could just explain to the gallery again. Thank you. Can I just explain to the gallery, in order to conduct the meeting, we have to have one person speaking at a time on council and keep in what we call an orderly manner and without interruptions from other people speaking over each other. And that still applies to the gallery as well. So we ask that you remain quiet and that you don't interrupt the meeting. I don't wish to call another interruption and adjourn the meeting. We have powers under the Local Government Act which allow us to fine members of the gallery who disrupt or interrupt the proceedings, but that would be an unfortunate turn of events. So let's try and move on, otherwise we may be here all night. Thank you. I'll just now ask Ms Bannon to come forward. Thank you. Thank you. Would you come up to the dais? Can you get through the grill? Thank you.
Thanks.
And again, 5 minutes, please, addresses. Thank you.
Good evening, Lord Mayor, councillors and community members. My name is Victoria Bannon. I speak for Adelaide residents and visitors to Hutt Street who support revised option B, which is option 1 before the council tonight. This presentation supplements a representation that was made on the 2nd of December, and I'm a resident of Adelaide, a ratepayer and a bike rider, and I grew up in the Hutt Street area. My work in international development includes consulting for the Australian Government on accessible, climate-smart transport infrastructure across Asia Pacific. But tonight, I speak as a resident. I think we can all agree that the Hutt Street community occupies a special place in the CBD. And if it is indeed a wasteland, it is the most vibrant wasteland that I've ever encountered. We feel that preserving this area is best achieved by revised option B. Despite the council's long consultation process, many people were unaware of the dramatic reductions in parking space, accessibility and the negative impact on businesses. Only 1,039 online responses were received, and clearway parking reductions were not announced until after the consultation was concluded. Conversely, our recent petition, which canvassed views on both options B and D, gathered more than 1,800 signatures. The vast majority, 1,781, supported revised option B, and only 9 supported option D. It is our strong view that revised option B promises to put people and nature first. Option D fails to deliver on this promise, and here's why. Instead of increasing convenience for residents and visitors who access this area by car, option D removes nearly half of the current car parking spaces. The idea that businesses in the Hutt Street precinct will somehow benefit from reducing access by car defies logic. Cars that carry people, residents, customers and visitors. Hutt Street is a major city thoroughfare, including several bus routes. Yet under option D, it will be reduced to a single lane in each direction, except at peak hour, when a clearway will reduce parking availability even further, at the exact time when many customers stop to drop off or collect goods. This proposal is likely to cause congestion and encourage road users to find other routes, in turn reducing the commuter traffic, which is so vital for businesses. But we are not favouring cars over other forms of transport, and certainly not over people. Accessibility and safety is paramount for everyone, people on foot, on public transport, on bikes and e-scooters, but even on this, option D fails to deliver. Although bike riders may feel protected from traffic, option D puts cyclists in greater conflict with pedestrians. Those on foot wanting to access local businesses from bus stops and parked cars or just to cross the road must navigate fast-moving bikes and e-scooters to reach the curb. And yet accessible foot traffic is exactly what the revitalisation initiative needs to increase. Further, the number of slowing moving pedestrians across the bike path may encourage some cyclists to use the road instead, creating further complications for parallel parkers and other road users under that plan. In contrast, revised option B really does put people first. It balances the needs of businesses, residents, visitors and road users using all modes of transport. For those with cars, there are 2 lanes to keep buses and traffic flowing, and most critically, optimum levels of parking are retained. This allows for quick pull-in angle parking, more space for loading and unloading, and greater safety for those with accessibility needs. For those of us on bikes, there is a significant safety improvement of a 1.5 metre bike lane along the road with a 1.2 metre chevron line compliant with Australian safety standards. This includes green bike boxes and dedicated lights for cyclists at major intersections. For pedestrians, there will be more refuge crossings for safer access to businesses on both sides of the street and fewer risks for pedestrians and cyclists crossing elsewhere. For businesses, these benefits are detailed in the remarks to be heard by Alan Long, which we fully support. In conclusion, we trust that you, as representatives of our whole community, will not unduly prioritise the voices of groups with a single focused interests, such as those of just cyclists. We respectfully appeal to you to listen to the collective wishes of all the residents, visitors and businesses who strongly support revised option B as the best path for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Logue? I'm sorry, did I pronounce your name correctly?
Logue.
Logue, thank you.
My wife says Logue as in Vogue.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. Please come forward and speak to us for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor and councillors, for this opportunity to work with you. This presentation will support Clara Tran's remarks delivered at the Infrastructure and Public Works Committee meeting on December 2, representing her pharmacy and the shop traders. As a member of the Hutt Street Traders Committee, I appreciate the opportunity to discuss proposed changes to Hutt Street. My family has run a business at 186 Hutt Street for over 20 years, supporting both our livelihood and 6 staff members, some of whom have mortgages. Many traders and residents doubt the consultation process, with some unaware it even happened. Our petition gathered more signatures than responses received by council. The results of the petition raised by the traders are certainly in favour of revised option B. As Victoria said, I think called option 1 in the agenda for this evening's meeting. 1,781 supporting it, with only 9 supporting option D. Around 840 of the enhanced option B support came from postcodes 5000 and 5006, meaning almost 940 non-locals were also supportive of revised option B. Council has cited various reasons for these impending changes to Hutt Street, including federal safety requirements and funding conditions, but these claims have been refuted at state and federal levels. Councillor Martin even noted on an ABC interview a few weeks ago, Hutt Street's unique village atmosphere is its strength. Why change that? And, as the Lord Mayor observed to a similar effect at the Council Infrastructure meeting last week, Hutt Street is not all about alfresco dining. It is different, because there are many other retail businesses that need to be supported as an important part of the unique village atmosphere that Hutt Street is. The Council Option D plan would remove around 70 parking spots when parking is already scarce, and introduce clearways on both sides, eliminating almost all parking in the mornings and the evenings. Hutt Street is not a wasteland, and our businesses depend on destination customers, many of whom travel from across the Adelaide conurbation and require convenient parking, especially for larger items. Limited parking forces us to collect work from distant vehicles or to use the back entrance of our shop. Parking is vital for all businesses' longevity. It is not just a space on the roadside, it's access. It's access for vulnerable people who can't walk long distances or ride or use public transport. Morning and evening clearways and less parking will exclude those customers from our village. Perhaps some shorter time park length bays, 15 minutes, might be beneficial for the likes of customers quite literally dropping off and picking up. For the pharmacy, this would be particularly useful, as well as supporting other small retailers. Traders need to be able to plan and have certainty at a time when acute cost of living pressures are affecting everybody. A lot of time and money has been spent to develop these plans. We believe revised option B does a good job to best balance the needs of traders, residents, pedestrians, bike safety and the necessary infrastructure upgrades. Please lock it down and let us move on with our business plans. As a retailer, it's truly humbling to find so much support coming from our customers and our residents. This is not just the traders being concerned. We truly value the continued support from our customers and residents who share our concerns about becoming another Jetty Road 2.0. As traders and retailers, we are not opposed to change. Good grief, successful businesses do it all the time. But we do need our customers to maintain that success. What we saw last week at Council is that the suggestions being made have been considered and taken on board. For that, we want to thank the Council, Administration and the CEO. Thank you for this opportunity to engage with you, and can I wish all of you a very happy and a safe Christmas.
Thank you. We're going to move down the list of other people requesting to make a deputation. If the people involved are not in the room, we have a meeting procedure which says they will come at a future date, but I think the decision will be made this evening. But can I just ask if Mr. Daniel Grilly is with us? Thank you. Please come forward.
Thank you, Councillors, Lord Mayor, for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking tonight to emphasise to you the strong and sustained community support for the Hutt Street redesign, option D. Of the options presented, option D is the only one that widens the footpaths and delivers the safe, continuous bike lane. It's the only option that actually transforms Hutt Street into a people-focused main street. I was there on the weekend and I was looking at the plans, and gosh, I thought to myself, if option D is built, it's going to be amazing. Because you know those wide bits of the footpath near Muscovado, Latteria, Chianti? I realised that the footpath is going to be that wide for the majority of the street. That's space for businesses and that's space for people. And the community understand this and want this. In Council's official community consultations for Hutt Street, they were the most thorough and well responded in Council history. Every time the Council asked, option D was the clear favourite of the community. And if the community support weren't enough, the federal government has given a $7 million grant based on option D, and the dollars stack up in a big way. So I don't need to repeat to you, the independent economic analysis showed that every dollar invested in this option D redesign will give over $5 back to the community. The same analysis showed that doing nothing would lead to stagnation. Now, I acknowledged, and we've heard tonight, that car parking has been a big part of the public debate and that traders are understandably concerned about any reduction in spaces. But I don't think anyone would disagree with me that what really matters is not the number of car parks, it's the number of people who can get to the street. And option D increases the total number of people who can comfortably access Hutt Street. So families, like we heard, older residents, children, people who can't drive, and of course people who do drive. There's still space. Because at the end of the day, it's the experience of the street that draws people, not the car parks. People will go for a good experience. So I'd like to invite everyone to think of those car parking spaces as not being lost, but they're being invested in those wide, welcoming footpaths and safe bike lanes that attract more people and create growth. And don't just take my word for it, we've seen it work locally. King William Road, Unley, car parking spaces reduced, space given back to the people.
Can I just ask that people are respectful? It's jolly hard to speak to a big gallery full of people and to speak to council. It takes courage. Please be respectful.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Car parking spaces reduced, space given to the people, invested in the people, business and popularity up. And there's one more reason, actually, why I think that thinking beyond parking is so important, and it's one that's not been talked about a lot, and that's because the east of the city is changing quickly. There are hundreds of new apartments already announced or approved within a few minutes' walk of Hutt Street, and we're only going to see more. The future residents that are going to live there or work there won't be choosing to live in the city because it's easy to drive. No, they want to choose it for walkability, access to local businesses, street life and daily convenience. So option D shows real foresight and bold vision from this council in preparing Hutt Street for that future. To conclude, option D is ready. It has the clear community support, federal funding and is backed by rigorous independent economic analysis. I do understand that Council is considering a couple of revised options in place of option D, and I've looked at them and in my view they lose the wide footpaths and safe continuous bikeways that are the very heart of what the community has been supporting all along. But it's not about my view, it's about the communities, and the community hasn't been consulted on these revised designs. So Council has a very clear and very fair choice before themselves tonight. Either proceed with option D in full confidence that it's the design that the community has twice endorsed, or if the council believes that a different design should replace it, then in fairness and in good faith, the community must be asked again before that decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Is Ms. Mackenzie with us? Thank you. Would you like to come forward? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I've had almost no time to prepare tonight, but I'm so thankful to have the opportunity to speak today. Something I think people are neglecting to ask is, who are our cities for? Who should the City of Adelaide be for? Should the City of Adelaide be designed primarily to meet the needs of 1 to 3 tonne metal boxes, which are shown to kill, on average, between 1 million and 1.5 million people around the world every year? Or do we design our cities for people? People, whether they be walking, cycling, using e-scooters, whatever the preferred methods might be. Do we want to prioritise one of the biggest sources of greenhouse gases in the world, and something that, as I already mentioned, is extremely dangerous to pedestrians and cyclists in general, but especially vulnerable people, children, elderly people, disabled people, people in wheelchairs, people on walking frames? Surely they deserve the city to be prioritised for them. At the end, I've heard a lot this evening about parking spaces, and there's been such a ton of narrow vision on parking spaces. But do parking spaces bring business, or do people bring business? You know, I don't think anyone on Rundle Mall is focused on parking spaces. People walk there, and the reason it's so successful is because it's pedestrianised, is because everyone walks up there, or you can park your bike there, and things like that. Cities, we see this in cities across the world. It's international best practice, and there are examples from all over the world that cities where people cycle. In cities like Oslo and Helsinki, for example, they recently put a lot of effort into prioritising bike lanes, pedestrianised footpaths, and it has resulted in the plummeting of road deaths. I'm also here to speak, as you can see from my shirt, as a volunteer at the Hutt Street Centre. Many of the centre's clients use bikes to get around, and I believe option D improves the safety for them, improves the safety of some of the Adelaide CBD's most vulnerable. With surely, and as has already been mentioned, there's loads of new apartments and a new hotel planning to be built on the eastern side of the CBD, which will of course attract more business to Hutt Street. People don't want to be driving there from a few hundred metres away. People want to walk there. The reason you visit, say, a city in wherever it might be when you travel abroad, is when you travel overseas, is you walk around there. You walk to shops, you walk to restaurants, you walk to other kinds of businesses. You don't want to be driving around everywhere. And there are plenty, and of course, I neglected to mention, there are plenty of people who cannot drive or who just have licenses but don't want to use them. Not driving doesn't make someone less valuable of a human. It doesn't mean that they are not able to support businesses as much. If anything, not owning a car means you have more money in your pocket. With losing a few parking spaces is neither here. You're losing a few parking spaces that could be taken. Think of how many people would fit in a parking space. If, say, this is a parking space, and each of one of the, and say my elbow is a person. You know, you can see how many people would fit into one parking space. You know, you can fit 4 5 maybe people in a car, versus if everyone was standing in that parking space or just walking through, you could obviously fit a lot more people. It's simple mathematics. Roads and cars are shown to be the most inefficient way of moving large numbers of people. The number of people that can walk past, that can travel through an area in an hour is drastically reduced when that area is prioritised for cars. And, when people are driving, it shouldn't be just when people are moving through a city, I should say. Again, I'm sorry, I've come out of work, I've not really had a lot of time, I've had no time to prepare. But when people are travelling through cities, what's a more pleasant experience? Walking or being stuck in traffic? Cycling or being stuck in traffic? It's international best practice. Studies the world over have shown that when you reduce car dependency, which is a burden for so many reasons, like I've mentioned earlier, for public safety, for the environment, for infrastructure as well. Is Hutt Street a wasteland? Maybe, maybe not. I visit Hutt Street every day, but it has so much more potential, and I and many people who frequent Hutt Street, who are in Hutt Street regularly, who volunteer work, live near Hutt Street, want to see the potential of Hutt Street truly realised. I don't want Hutt Street to be just a thoroughfare for traffic. It shouldn't be that way. Hutt Street shouldn't just be a giant car park. It should be a place that's whilst it's lively to an extent, it should be more lively. It should be full of more people. Cities are for people, not for cars, and we need to start prioritising that. And bikes as well. Cities are for people, not for cars. Prioritise the needs of human beings, as cities around the world are working towards doing. I would love to see the same for Adelaide. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. It's such a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kenzie. Can I ask if Mr. Bennett is with us? Daniel Bennett? No. Then we'll move on to Miss Lucy Ward. Please come forward. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I acknowledge that we're meeting on Kaurna country and pay my respects to elders past and present. Councillors, thank you for this opportunity to be heard tonight. I'm Lucy Ward, Senior Active Living Officer with the Heart Foundation, and I'm a qualified urban planner and landscape designer. I'm also sitting on the Walking for Transport Committee of Walking SA, so maybe I can have Daniel's 5 minutes as well. The Heart Foundation is committed to advancing physical activity as a proven strategy for preventing heart disease. Our research shows that urban design directly shapes how we move, how much we walk, wheel or ride, and where we connect with our community. Today I ask you to support option D for Hutt Street, the community's preferred option, from a fair and impartial community engagement process. Option D also best aligns with Council's city plan, creating a safer, more inclusive Main Street and setting the stage for healthier, more physically active and socially connected living and a resilient local economy. So option D is the clear fit with the city plan. I remind Council of your obligations under the Local Government Act to, in your decision-making tonight, give due weight to City of Adelaide strategies, including the city plan endorsed just last year. Council's city plan prioritises transport diversity and a green city, extending bicycle and pedestrian networks by reallocating road space to active transport and greening. Option D delivers this vision: separated cycle paths, wider footpaths, expanded outdoor dining and seating, and better tree protection. This is textbook city plan intent. The vision for Hutt Street's local area is a walkable village Main Street of heritage shop fronts and mixed uses, prioritising pedestrians, extending trading hours and supporting small business character. Option D shifts priority from through traffic to people on foot and bikes, creating a sticky street, a cool, green, comfortable place that supports longer visits, flexible activities and a thriving evening economy. We also support raised thresholds at side streets, which means safer crossings for older people, kids, prams, and people using mobility aids. Over 20 years ago, Jan Gehl showed us that street design shapes behaviour. If we design for walking, wheeling and dwelling, we get vibrant street life. Option D is the only option that truly invites these people-first behaviours: wider footpaths, a continuous protected cycle path, and expanded zones for dining, greening and local events. With the local area's population to potentially double in the next decade, now is the time to create a street that welcomes more connection and opportunity, rather than reinforcing Hutt Street as a shortcut through to the city's ring route. Option D is the strongest for business and the economy. The Hart Foundation's Good for Business evidence paper, which I've emailed to all of you councillors today, released this year, synthesises decades of research. Retail districts with better walking and cycling access see more people visiting more often, staying longer and spending more over time. Sure, walkers and riders may spend less per visit, but they visit more frequently, leading to higher cumulative spend. Well-planned public realm upgrades can boost footfall and trading by 35% or more. Option D activates these levers: spaces for people, calmer streets and a green shaded public realm that attracts repeat visits. Council's own economic analysis, as spoken about earlier tonight, projects Option D to deliver the strongest economic outcomes. It is noted that the economic performance of the latest design being considered by Council hasn't been assessed. The report recommends that to maximise economic benefits, Main Street design should reallocate some curbside parking to create better walking and riding environments and activity spaces. Option D does this: a rebalance, not a wholesale removal, in exchange for a higher quality street environment and increased business activity. Curbside parking, whether angled or parallel, naturally slows traffic as vehicles must reverse into the street. For this reason, concerns about the functionality of parallel parking proposed in Option D, in my view, are a moot point. Option D isn't taking car parks away from business, it's using some of that space to create a street that attracts more customers more often for longer. That's how you grow turnover in a modern Main Street. Rundle Street is evidence that high turnover parallel parking spaces can make reduced car parking work. So Hutt Street can be the welcoming village Main Street the city plan envisions: greener, cooler, safer and great for local business. Option D is the only option that delivers that future. On behalf of the Hart Foundation and Walking SA and the many residents, workers and visitors who want to move more, linger longer and support local, I urge you to endorse Option D and proceed to detailed design that locks in the long-term economic, health and livability benefits. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Can I ask now if Professor Doug McAvoy is here? No? If not, I'll move on to Mr. Oh, sorry, Professor. I'm sorry. Take you a while to get to the front. Thank you. Please come forward.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've been a resident of the southeast corner of the city for over 20 years. I shop, have coffee and dine on Hutt Street several times a week. I mostly go by bike or on foot and occasionally stop off in my car at one of the IGAs to pick up supplies on the way home from golf. Okay, so personally I'm retired. I'm a retired physician and medical researcher. So they're my sort of background. I'm here to ask the councillors whatever happened to the Hutt Street Redevelopment Concept Plan D. It was and still is the only bold, forward-looking vision for a revitalised Hutt Street that has been presented to residents, business owners and the council. It was also overwhelmingly voted the best amongst 5 alternative plans in the most extensive community consultation ever conducted by council. Plan D needs to be back on the council table. Because some traders are concerned about car parking spaces, and I'll come to that later, will be reduced on Hutt Street, we have 2 new revised plans. These save some car parks but do next to nothing to address the major structural changes needed. If councillors vote for either of these, you'll be essentially voting for the status quo and will miss a once-in-a-generation opportunity to enliven the street right now and prepare it for the 40% increase in the inner city populations that's expected over the next 2 decades. The status quo will simply not do. While there are some recent promising signs of increased business activity in some sections of the street, this must not hide the fact that the street overall is in a precarious state. In the 3 blocks slated for upgrade, there's been a chronic high failure rate and turnover of new small businesses. Right now there are 8 vacant premises and for lease signs on the street, and there are far too many old, dilapidated, depressing-looking shop fronts. There's a very high volume of through traffic on Hutt Street. This adds very little to the economy and reduces public amenity. Traffic noise and air pollution detract from street dining, and combined with the angled parking, it makes the unprotected road bike lanes extremely dangerous, so much so that virtually no one uses them. Footpaths are too narrow and are already congested. Cyclists and e-scooter riders who move onto the footpath for safety reasons only add to the problem. Unless significant strategic and structural changes are made to Hutt Street before the projected 40% population increase, Hutt Street will become progressively an undesirable destination. Plan D, I believe, is the plan for the future. It reduces and slows through traffic, making the street a quieter and safer place to dine, shop, access services and meet friends. The substantially widened footpaths. This enhances the shopping experience and safety for pedestrians, including those using mobility devices. Many more cafes and restaurants, flower shops, bars, etc. will have the opportunity to spread out onto the street and increase their trade, not just those positioned at street corners that already are blessed with a wide pavement. It will have a wide, dedicated and protected cycle and e-scooter lane. Experience in Sydney and other cities is that this will very rapidly quadruple cycle traffic into the area. Many women feel confident to ride only when cycle pathways are separated from vehicle traffic. Commuter cyclists move relatively slowly along the street, so have time to look and are much more likely to stop and buy than commuter car drivers, for example. Plan D provides the structural milieu for Hutt Street to become a destination of choice for Adelaideans and a tourist attraction. A uniquely wide, shady boulevard for outside dining, specialty shopping and community events. It needs the council to be bold in its decision-making and business owners to be adaptable and forward-looking. At the same time, specific legitimate concerns of the traders need to be addressed. Several traders are very concerned that the loss of street car parks is going to affect their livelihood, their businesses and their livelihood. I believe these parking concerns can be addressed with careful business-by-business consideration of specific needs. I just make 2 points. Some businesses will need special parking dispensation, e.g. disabled parking in front of medical rooms, less than 15-minute spaces for high-volume, short-stay customers. Otherwise, I believe there are adequate spaces in the precinct to deal with the Plan D plan. I did myself a geospatial analysis of unoccupied car spaces in the area, and there were 50 unoccupied car spaces behind Hutt Street, in the streets behind, up to 125 metres, which would adequately account for relocation of cars from the street. Thank you.
Can I ask if Mr. Peter Lum is here? Oh, yes, sorry, I didn't see you lurking behind the pillar. Thank you, Mr. Lum. Please come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, councillors. I've lived in Halifax Street for 18 years. It's different to Hutt Street, of course, but it is another city street. I've noticed more competition for space in my street. It's got more congested in mornings and evening peaks. It's congested for longer. There's a complex mix of schools, workers, residents, tourists, businesses, trucks, cars, Uber Eats. And now a 13-storey hotel is over the road from me, is nearly complete. I've wondered, where does this increased complexity and the growing congestion that comes with it end? To find out, I responded to City of Adelaide advertisements inviting residents, business people and others to attend consultations to share their views about how to manage our city streets as we head towards 50,000 residents in 2036. In consultations, I sat at tables and checked data, looked at a variety of street designs in discussion with other residents, with business owners, with people with disabilities, with students, with council staff, and with an independent expert from a major consulting company. This is the usual consulting process for many consultations. When the meeting's finished and the submissions are in, staff labour to produce documents like the City Plan 2036, the Integrated Climate Strategy, and the soon-to-land Integrated Transport Strategy. Plans, as I understand them, strategic plans, as I understand them, chart an organisation's way forward into the future. In council consultations this year, I heard Scott Ellerant speak. Scott's from Adelaide. He's the chair of the peak body for Transport Planners and Engineers, Transport Australia Society. The city invited him onto an expert panel to talk about Adelaide's congestion problems and how to overcome these using bikes and e-scooters. He said, "There's a lot of streets in the city of Adelaide and a lot of traffic, but there's not so many streets letting traffic into our city through the parklands and out again. That's an important reason for our increasing congestion." We all know about Adelaide's congestion. We experience it. In media last week, we discovered Adelaide, and especially the CBD, has the slowest moving traffic of all Australian cities. The RAA has long charted this decline in speed and advocated for changing city transport priorities. In consultations I've participated in, there are words and phrases which keep recurring, heralding changing priorities. Some of these words include things like reallocate street space in favour of pedestrians and cyclists, facilitate mode shift so it's convenient to leave a car at home and get on public transport or ride, provide for transport diversity and mobility choices for citizens, provide spaces for people and more trees, build separated bike lanes. In consultations, people agree we've got to turn these words into infrastructure. We've got to provide less space-demanding forms of mobility than focusing on cars all the time. Hutt Street is a street in our changing city. It can't opt out. Like Halifax Street, it will change, and we can prepare for a more prosperous future. In conclusion, I listened to the committee meeting live stream last week. Senior council staff explained at the meeting how they worked tirelessly to save as many car parks as possible in massaging option B. Council staff didn't advocate for council strategic plans. There wasn't discussion last week about mode choice, transport diversity, separating cars from bikes, or congestion. But we were to get a U-Butte, fresh, new painted lot of bike lanes. I wondered, as I listened, who even reads the city plan? or the integrated climate strategy? What's the purpose of these strategies? Why do they exist? Also on Tuesday, some councillors expressed their satisfaction with the massaging of option B. We have compromised, they told us. We've brought the community together. Councillors, I'm just finishing, you've abandoned the work and understanding of hundreds of people who have participated in your strategic planning consultations. You've abandoned your own strategic plans. Do the right thing. Let's have option D.
Councillor, it's my intention to have the petition next and then bring forward 18.6. Is that what you would like to do? Yeah. So can I just have item 10, would you like to move that, which is receipt of the petition, seconded by Councillor Kouros. I don't think we need any debate. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. So now I'll seek leave of the meeting to bring forward 18.6. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Councillor Kouros, do you have your hand up? Oh no, we just voted. Sorry, were you going to move it? 18.6? Sorry? I'm sorry, can I thought we have just moved to change the agenda, and now I'm asking for someone to move the motion as printed. I think Councillor Kouros is going to move it.
Could you give it to a
ward, if someone will
councillor?
second it, seconded by Councillor Noon. Councillor Kouros.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I basically just want to thank the community for their hard work, and I think at this point, Lord Mayor, if I'm correct to say, we're talking about option B only and not any other option, because that's the motion before us. The motion as printed. Yes. The recommendation on page 217. If anybody in the gallery has got the pages open. So the option B revised is the one that is very much supported by the community. I have met with a number of the community members, the residents, businesses, people that live on the street, and they're all here with us today, or majority of them are here today. I've door knocked, I've spoken to people that visit the area, and it is very clear that the option B revised is the one that is quite very supported, especially clearly detailed in the petition. We have worked through each option for a very long time, Lord Mayor. I don't want to go through the history. It's been in the making for since my whole time in council for the past 7 years. It was deferred last term of council to this term of council to be made a decision to be made, and the businesses especially are looking forward to us having a resolution here tonight. They need to move forward, they need to know what we are doing, they need to know what we are approving, and they need to manage their businesses. Some businesses expressed concerns that if the car parking is lost, that they will have to possibly close down. And that will be a sad thing for everybody, and that will be a sad thing for the residents who have become accustomed to seeing the faces of the traders every day, and some of them been in this area for 40 years. Lord Mayor, you know, it was said in our previous meeting that we should have businesses that are connected to the community. I've never seen such businesses, so many businesses that are connected to their community and Hutt Street. They are dedicated to their residents, and the residents are dedicated to them. And this is an example of how well it can, the fusion between residents and businesses, work well together and support each other, and I applaud them. I just also want to point out, Lord Mayor, that in one of our city user profiles that we did in 2022, that we commissioned McGregor Tan to survey our city, it was clear that 44% of people that come to the City of Adelaide use public transport, 34% use a car, 19% walk, and 2% use a bicycle. So it will impact their businesses, taking away the car park. It will destroy their livelihood. It will
Abstention has been moved. All those in favour? That's against. It's carried. Carry on, Councillor.
These are the very people that get up every morning and serve the people that come to their shop and who rely on those people that come in droves, because 80% of the spending on Hutt Street are people from outside of the postcode. They come from far and wide. They come and use the chemist, they come and get their shoes repaired, they come into the news agency, they come and pick up their dry cleaning. It is not just one business, it is all of them. And to put a nail on their coffin of a business that they've worked so hard for, that would be just destroying. I would not want to do that. I would not want to destroy their businesses. I don't want the residents to lose their community feel. That's not what I want. And I ask this council to support the revised option B, which gives us a balance between the two options.
So, seconder, Councillor Noon, I don't know if there was an amendment, so I'll move on to the amendment after Councillor Noon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This project has been through significant rigour, not just in this council term, as Councillor Kouros stated, but in the previous one as well. The consultation process has been extensive, and as outlined in the report, we didn't stop at the formal consultation. We continued listening, we continued testing options, and we continued refining the concept in response to what the community told us. The results initially, yes, were option D, and through further refinement consultation, revised option B emerged as the balanced outcome that best reflects community sentiment and practical design considerations for this period of time in Adelaide. We listened and we have acted. And here is the reality. We will never find an option that satisfies everybody. That is an impossibility on a street as diverse as Hutt Street, a precinct with retail, hospitality, residents, traders, transport users, and all wanting different things. But what we can do is choose an option that has been tested, openly consulted on, revised with care, and is now ready for the next stage. At some point, we have to stop going back and forth, trying to design for perfect consensus. If we continue to do that, nothing will happen. And Hutt Street deserves better than continued delay that's creating so much angst and trauma. And doing nothing is the worst thing that we can actually do. This is a precinct that will continue to evolve. And our responsibility is to be part of that evolution now and into the future. Tonight is about getting on with it, guys. Approving the concept, starting detailed design, determining the final costings and moving the Hutt Street revitalisation into delivery. I thank in particular all the residents and stakeholders and businesses and users of Hutt Street who have come on this journey with us and have been here to assist us getting to this point. And I proudly second this motion.
Thank you. I just am uncertain who is going to move an amendment. Councillor Marr.
I am, but I'll speak briefly to the motion as is printed before I move that amendment. No? Okay, well, in that case then, I will move the motion amendment. I am moving an amendment.
Okay. And, okay, Councillor, can you just tell us what it is?
Sure, I have forwarded it to the administration. I believe they've got it ready to go on the screen.
Can I assist?
Where is the amendment?
Yes.
Through the presiding member, considering the significance of the variation to the motion that has been moved and seconded, my advice would be you are forewarning an alternative motion should the motion before the chamber fail.
I'm sorry,
I can't accept it as an
amendment.
I believe it is quite a simple one. The current motion is in favour of B and the amendment is in favour of D. It's not a significant change.
Accept it as an amendment, I'm sorry. It's sufficiently different that it's more than an amendment. If we were to accept it as it would have to. I would suggest you see if test the numbers to vote down the motion that's been moved. If it's voted down, you may move this as an alternate motion. That's my decision. I'm sorry.
Sure. So I may speak on option B then, as printed.
Sorry. You may vote. You may speak on B. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, the motion has printed.
Point of order. Lord Mayor.
Just a moment. We've got a point of order. Can you sit down, Councillor Mott?
Lord Mayor, I believe that replacing option B with option D is not. It is an amendment to this motion because option D has come to council before. It is part of this process, so I don't see how it is not an amendment to this current motion, and so I dissent from your ruling.
I've given my ruling on the motion, but I'll ask further advice from the CEO.
Through the presiding member, the advice to the presiding member in the chamber is in relation to the significance of the variance between option B revised and option D. If members are not supportive of option B revised, that'll be reflected in your vote. Councillor Marr has forewarned or foreshadowed an alternative motion should this motion fail.
Can I ask another question of procedure?
Please do.
If members would like to amend this motion, then how would that? I mean, what I don't want to see is that we just go yes or no on this motion and remove the opportunity for other members to amend it.
We have the capacity to have 2 amendments. Currently, we have had no amendments. Currently, we have only had a motion put before the chamber as printed. So we still have the capacity for 2 amendments. Is that clear?
But not a change from option B to option D.
Yes. So, another question, Councillor.
Yes, sorry, Lord Mayor. So, is it your ruling that you will not accept any alternative motion that is different in character to the recommendation for option B revised?
This is the motion that is before the chamber now. We can have an amendment which alters some of the clauses, but in order to change it, it's effectively a direct reversal of the motion.
Well, what about an alternative motion?
I'll seek advice, but my ruling was as stated.
Through the presiding member, consistent with the advice to Councillor Marr, an alternative motion would be a forewarned alternative motion, foreshadowed motion, subject to the outcome of the matter before the chamber, amended or unamended.
So, and I'm seeking clarification. So if Councillor Marr is proposing to move an alternative motion if this one fails, what happens to any subsequent alternative motion? It's moved after the next one and the next one and the next one?
I'll seek advice. I'm just trying to clarify as we go. But I don't think that that's going to occur.
Through the presiding member, it's predicated on the primary point of the motion. The motion before the chamber is about option B revised. Councillor Marr has foreshadowed an option based on an alternative based on option D. I'm not clear what any further foreshadowed alternative motion might be.
Well, I was going to move a motion that's completely different to B and D, but I'm assuming that would not be acceptable because it's at variance with B.
I'm prepared to hear what people are proposing, but I think not. But if we vote, I'm sorry to the gallery, this is technicalities. I'm prepared to accept a vote on this, and my understanding of the flow of decision-making will be if this motion is supported, then motion D will not be supported. It will just be a a binary choice.
May I then speak, Lord Mayor, to the motion that's before us?
Councillor Martin, I think I will have my speaking
Councillor
on
Marr
option B
had the
first.
floor.
Okay, I'll allow him to do that.
Thank you. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We've had a lot of talk about the word compromise, which has had the interpretation of being a bit of column A and column B, as it were. But I don't believe that's the correct application of the word in terms of this option B. I think we'd be far better off using the other definition of the word compromise, which is to accept standards that are lower than desirable, and to just to bring into disrepute the point of what we're doing here. It has compromised this design. It has not been a compromise between two options. It has made it worse and therefore, in my opinion, unacceptable. Option B does not satisfy the initial framing of the street revitalisation project. One of the core fundamental components of the revitalisation project was to have wider footpaths. Option B does not do that. So in that regard, I can't support option B. In any capacity, I will not be supporting it. Option B does not make cycling safer than it currently is. It remains an on-street cycle lane. It remains an on-street cycle lane behind reversing angle-parked cars. So in terms of compromise, there has been no improvement to that. I don't see how that's a compromise. I think that's just a walking straight over the top. Option B, I would rather spend $25 million on literally anything else than do option B. That's all I have to say on the matter. And as I said, as the CEO has provided advice, I'll be happy to move an alternative.
Just allow the members of council to speak.
I'll move an alternative later in support of option D. Thank you.
Has the call next.
Colleagues, tonight we have an opportunity to do something that's quite rare. It's not every day that we can approve and deliver a project that is ambitious, financially responsible and shaped directly by the people who live and work in Hutt Street. Now, from the start, my position has been very clear. Any upgrade to Hutt Street must pass two tests. Does it support our traders and does it encourage more visitors? Now, option B, revised, is the only option that meets both. Now, we have listened, not successfully, selectively, not performatively, but genuinely. Now, a petition of more than 1,800 signatures told us plainly what the community who visits Hutt Street want. They want a revitalised street with improved safety and amenity, but do not want to destroy parking in the process. Option B, revised, is the only concept that honours that message. Now, the petition that was presented before us tonight was freely available on shop counters of traders on Hutt Street. Now, those who go to Hutt Street could sign the petition. Now, in that petition, there was an option to support a separated bike path, and there was an option that did not. Overwhelmingly, the users who walked, cycled, and drove to Hutt Street supported option B. Now, option B retains 110 on-street car parks, including accessible parks that meet Australian standards. For a main street whose economic life depends on convenience, that truly does matter. Now, traders have told us repeatedly that parking is not a luxury, it is essential for their business, and those car parks mean survival for those businesses. Now, under this option, they keep their customer access they so desperately rely on. But at the same time, option B delivers what revitalisation actually means. New lighting for safety, improved footpaths, better crossings, more greening, and a safer, wider 1.5 metre on-road bike lane with a proper buffer. This is not a half measure, it's a genuine, balanced upgrade that delivers for those wishing to come by bike and for those wishing to come by car. There is no perfect option. Every design involves trade-offs, but the question before us tonight is not whether any single stakeholder gets everything they want. It's whether the street as a whole becomes a safer, greener, more prosperous and more functional street. Option B is the only option that delivers that balance. It respects our traders, it respects our residents, it respects vulnerable road users, and it respects the ratepayers who expect us to deliver outcomes, but not on ideology. So, colleagues, tonight is our chance to back a solution that is practical, practical, supported, cost-efficient and genuinely achievable. Let's give Hutt Street the revitalisation it deserves without sacrificing the very things that make it a living, breathing village. I support option B and I urge you all to do the same.
So I'm going to move on to Councillor Siebentrit, but can I just mention that as Councillor Freeman has an amendment, she will need someone to second her amendment, so we don't all want to speak and not give her the chance to move it. I'm just trying to give everyone a fair go here.
Lord Mayor, I'm happy to reserve my right for now because I'm happy to second Councillor Freeman's
Just
amendment.
to make sure everyone has a fair go, Councillor Freeman, can you just tell us what your amendment was? Have we got it?
Yes, you do, Lord Mayor. So that's been provided to governance.
Sorry, where is it? Is it that
on
one?
the screen
All right.
in red.
Sorry, Councillor. I'm just speaking over you. I apologise.
So has that been seconded? Oh, fabulous. Thank you. Okay, so I am proposing an amendment, and it's probably not the amendment that was expected from me. I will preface this by saying I am only proposing this amendment because the decision we make tonight dictates whether we access $7.3 million in federal funding or not, and it kicks off a detailed design process where we can continue to refine this design. It's been a very long journey. I don't think this is a compromised design, but I recognise that we do need to take a step forward, and this tonight is probably it. I think we've been given an impossible decision to pick between car parking and cycling and pedestrians, when actually I think all of us agree that we want both. All of the traders I spoke to want both, and I can't help but wonder, why are we keeping Hutt Street as a major thoroughfare, as it was described earlier? Do we want a noisy, hot, smelly road with lots of traffic and even more congestion, or do we want parking, pedestrians and cyclists? Just wondering. So in terms of the compromise we're looking at, I have to say, as a cyclist, I am a little bit disappointed. We do not have a wider footpath, which is what the community said they wanted. We do not have a safe, separated bikeway that people of all ages, shapes and sizes would use. We don't have outdoor dining, and I will talk to that in terms of this amendment shortly. We have not lost any car parks, so I'm not sure how this is a compromise at all in that regard. But I do recognise that timing is everything here. Hutt Street has about half of the foot traffic it did back in 2019. Now might just not be a good time, and I did talk about this last week. Maybe once we get the population growth that we know is going to happen, we can think about this again. But right now, I feel like anything I say is not going to change the outcome that happens tonight. My amendment does want to acknowledge the other businesses on Hutt Street that aren't shops. And I think the most beautiful thing of Hutt Street is that it's diverse. There are shops that people come to regularly. And there's also restaurants that people come to who probably don't rely on car parking as much as those shops. They said during consultation they want outdoor dining, and we haven't delivered that. I do think a compromise design solution during detailed design would be working with all of those businesses to work out what they actually want and looking at the flexibility in the road design. Is there opportunity for parklets, let's say, or some sort of temporary activation? That's what we said we wanted during consultation. It's what the community said they wanted as well, and at the moment we don't have that in the design. We also don't have accessible car parking spaces or loading zones, which we also heard we very much wanted. We haven't seen any evidence that the car parking controls will be there. Could I please have another minute? Thank you. Now, that's another thing that I heard consistently from everyone I spoke with, that we're not efficient with the parking we have at the moment, and that may be exacerbating the problem. So I think our due diligence should be to look at that. Just finally, my comment about all businesses. I appreciate that there is a lot of desire for this option. The petition is clear. I did look at all the addresses in that petition. About 50 businesses on Hutt Street signed it, and about 80 didn't. So this amendment is to go and talk to those businesses about what they want, many of which are hospitality businesses with no outdoor dining. I think that's fair. I think that this covers off on that due diligence. I am disappointed that we haven't prioritised cycling, and I do foreshadow that I will have a motion in the coming weeks to look at, if cycling is not welcome on Hutt Street, where is it welcome? Can we work that out?
Councillor Giles, I think that Councillor Seam is going to second it, and then the next in the list was Councillor Abraham today, and then Councillor...
Lord Mayor, I have an additional amendment.
I just think he
I'm happy to reserve my right, Lord Mayor, if you'd like to hear. No? OK, I'm seeing shaking heads.
We do have to manage this one first. So I'm afraid we can't accept another one until we've dealt with it.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And I'll speak in support of Councillor Freeman's amendment, as well as speaking to the item in general. Lord Mayor, tonight we debate the choice of upgrade option after well over 12 months of considering design and consultation feedback on top of nearly a decade of community and trader interest and work. Consultation, we know, as we've heard tonight, initially provided strong support for option D, but continued feedback since that time, including at street quarter meetings that are held across the southeast, showed significant support for option B. So we sit here tonight, seemingly pitted against one another across the chamber and across the gallery. But I suggest to the chamber that now is the time, in the words of Lennon McCartney perhaps, who once stood on the balcony here at Town Hall, it's a time to come together. The revised option B, which is what's before us tonight, I regard as a hybrid. It does deliver more pedestrian activation, including through crossovers, raised thresholds at cross streets. It does provide greater cycleway width. It does allow for increased greening and tree protection and improved security and safety measures. It may not be bold, but it is a step forward. And sometimes, members, that is what's required, even if it is not as far as some may like. I'm of the firm view, though, that tonight we're not just debating about an option B versus a D, it's about the revised B, or potentially nothing. Because I've had feedback in recent times, recent weeks, that if it's this hard to agree to something, should we do it at all? Perhaps we do nothing. But do nothing, choosing no option, not finding a compromise or finding a way to come together is why Hutt Street is sitting here 10 years on and not made a decision at all. In fact, rather than doing nothing, this is the time to come together. As both a cyclist and a car owner, I can say that we've had bystanders on 2 wheels or 4 wheels labelling the upgrade as either a war on cars or a war on bikes. Talk of a war on cars or a war on bikes misses the central truth. Main streets are shared civic spaces and their success depends on balance, and that balance is constantly moving and changing in a city with a growing population. Instead, this revitalisation is about providing a sensible centre for movement and amenity, access and safety, meeting the needs of traders and changing transport patterns. The tricky part, Lord Mayor, is that no main street as we know across the city is a blank canvas. Hutt Street, like many other high streets in our city, has a rich and varied mix of businesses and residents. Main streets are constrained by limited space, and we have a shopping list of demands, members. We see this on a regular basis. A shopping list of demands, including a popular one around more outdoor dining space and pedestrian activation. It's easy to think this upgrade is all about bike lanes and car parks, and we've heard a lot about that here tonight. The narrative of the project has run away at times with rumours and misinformation, mainly surrounding the 5 proposals. Can I have some more time, please, Lord Mayor? Thank you, members. Mainly surrounding the 5 proposals put to the community earlier this year. It remains true that most sides of the debate have features in common that they would like to see. It's also easy to assume that the current proposal is a new idea, driven somehow solely by the City of Adelaide, yet in reality it was traders and residents who called for these upgrades many years ago, and we should pause and thank them for their tireless efforts, because if it wasn't for those efforts over the last 10 years, we would not be here tonight. The ambition has remained clear throughout: strengthen the local economy, protect the village character of the street, improve lighting, greening, security and pedestrian activity. And now we face a choice. One path produces perceived winners and losers, risking us at further deepening the division that is clearly here within our community tonight. The other accepts that a compromise from all sides is necessary to deliver a safer, greener and more inviting street. And in my view, There is only one option that delivers this, and it is a revised option B that's here before us tonight. Doing nothing would risk another decade of inaction. If we want strong main streets, we need to come together right now, and in my opinion, this is the only way forward.
Thank you. I think we'll move to Councillor Abrahams today. Councillor Giles, did you want to speak against this, or can we deal with it first? Okay. So why don't we take a vote on the amendment? Do you want to sum up, Councillor Freeman?
Summed up.
Okay, all those in favour? All those against? Thank you, that's carried. So that now becomes part of the motion, and there's a space now for a second amendment. Can we change the colour? Just make it obvious. Thank you. Councillor Giles.
Yeah, I did pass my amendment in earlier today.
Okay.
Members, I have moved an alternative to number 2. I do want to state, however, at the beginning of my
can I just hold on for a second? Can I just check that it's not ultra vires?
No, I think it is.
We're having advice from.
It's not ultra vires. No, it doesn't negate part 1.
I seek advice.
The presiding member, one word, tweak to the words in 3, to ask questions of the administration and provide feedback.
Feedback, yeah, that's agreed. Yep.
Yeah. Otherwise, it might infer something alternative. Yeah. What's contemplated here is a information and engagement process, if I've got it right, Councillor Giles?
Yes, I'll speak to it. In doing so, I wish to also make it clear that I would have supported an amendment by Councillor Marr to replace option B with option D, particularly, and my resolve around this issue has become stronger after hearing from people tonight. The arguments put forward by tonight were very coherent and reflect the amount of consultation and also debate that's been going on in the community prior to this decision.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So it's regarded as not ultra vires. We can accept it. I'm sorry I've taken this time, but can we have a seconder? Is there a seconder? You can't. I think you seconded the one before.
Look, for the sake of the debate, I will, Lord Mayor, but I'd like to know what the amendment means.
We might discover shortly if we listen to Councillor Giles.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. And I'll explain. What I go to is the point around consultation. I am really concerned that this process has been a process which has actually exacerbated and caused difficulty in the unity of the community around Hutt Street. What I have seen from the evidence given to me as a councillor is that there's been discussion about this issue since 2013. There's been discussion, there's been engagement, but different groups of people have put in different proposals. There's been excellent engagement between the council, between key experts and between a large number of people in the community. When the proposals came back to us, and I want to say that that it's a sad story that people who engaged in that process with a great sense of hope, residents and small business owners and community organisations, who they went through this process to shape a place that they live, and they contributed in good faith and genuinely contributed to a public and open process. And as a result, they came back, even after all five options were put to them, that they wanted option D. This is an amendment which seeks to bring that divisive process together and create an opportunity for people in the community to sit down, talk to each other through an independent facilitator and actually talk to each other about the issues in order to be able to discuss the way forward in relation to continuing that unity that this process started. The objective of the meeting would be that they would to build the unity between people in the southeast, to enable people to better understand each other's concerns and issues, to ask questions of the administration and provide feedback about the design, because as was rightly pointed out in the forum tonight, it was rightly pointed out that this particular proposal has not been consulted in the same way as the other proposals were. It's to discuss ways of the community can assist in achieving the objectives of what everybody said here that they want, which is a safe, friendly, green, community-focused precinct. What I would like is that this meeting occur prior to the detailed plan, because our aim as a council should not be to seed division and to spread misinformation and to cause people to be anxious about what's going on. Our role as a council should be to bring people together and consult with them in good faith in public processes that are prescribed under the Act. Can I just have one more minute? So, probably in recognition that that option B will be supported tonight, I'm trying to look for ways that we can make sure the dialogue continues between the council and community, and the community continues the dialogue with each other, so we don't end up with people saying, yay, I won, you lost. We actually build something much more sophisticated, which is a clear understanding between everyone and their positions. If we don't take our consultation processes seriously, including consultation around our active transport strategy, consultation around our city plan, consultation around our climate policy, if we don't take those consultations seriously and then just go and do something different, we will lose face with the whole community about how serious we are about taking this city forward.
Can I just say I've taken the advice of the administration about this, but I'm really concerned that we're approving option B and then we're going out to consultation again on it.
Just to clarify, that's not what the motion says.
So can I just have clarity, because I don't want to lead the public up the garden path, and can I just be absolutely clear, we're not reopening a consultation?
Through the presiding member, your administration's interpretation of this revised part 2 is that we arrange a information and engagement session as distinct from a consultation. That's my understanding of the... Yep. So that we can develop a shared understanding of all of our community regarding the scope of the proposed option.
Move on to Councillor Davis. Seconder, for the purposes of debate, do you wish to speak?
I reserve my right, Lord Mayor.
Councillor Davis, then Councillor Kouros.
I just have a question of the administration, and then if I could speak to it potentially. The last says that this meeting to occur prior to the development of the detailed plan. Is that, and then a report to come back to council? So what would be the timeline for that? Would this delay the commencement of the detailed design, and by how long?
Through the presiding member, a minor change to that sentence. It should refer to the development of the detailed design rather than detailed plan. This, understanding the thrust of the amendment, this is a meeting that we would arrange early in the new year and bring a report back to council in short order.
So would that be a delay of 2 months?
No.
But if you hold a meeting, it can't commence.
Detailed design would progress in parallel. This is an information and engagement
okay, so
process.
this doesn't delay it at all? No. Okay. If I can speak to it. I understand the sentiment, and I understand that there may well be, things that people don't, like about the proposal. I get that. There are some traders who will lament the 20 car parks that are going from the original at 132 now going down to 120. There will be members of our community who are active cyclists who won't like it. I don't see how another meeting would make those two groups reconcile on this particular point, and I'm quite concerned it would actually inflame the situation. And we saw a very passionate member today talking about horses, I think it was. So, he was very upset with the proposal, and I don't think that this will provide any benefit. I think that the ratepayers, our business owners, are sick and tired of consultation and discussions about it. I think that they want us to make a decision on this and move forward. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Point of order.
So, point of order has been called.
Are councillors allowed to ask for participation from the gallery?
I expect a bit of rhetoric on occasion, but I don't think he's asking.
I think it might be, has the effect of disrupting the meeting by calling for a response from the gallery.
It's disorderly to have interruptions, so we'll just let Councillor Davis finish.
Thank you. I hope I don't get kicked out under Regulation 29 for being disruptive.
Please don't have a conversation with the gallery.
I'm not. And so, correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're sick and tired members. If you think that the community want to discuss this further, I could well be wrong about that. But I don't think that there's an appetite from either. I think continuing this will only increase that disharmony. The debate has been had tonight. The decision falls on us. We must vote as to the future of Hutt Street. I think the time, it's been a 3-year process on this council to get it here. So I think everybody involved would like to see a conclusion to it, and so that the council can move forward with confidence. But I understand the sentiment, but I think it perhaps will make things worse.
So Councillor Torres is now speaking on the amendment.
Lord Mayor, I just wanted to understand this amendment. We're asking ratepayers to pay for an external facilitator. What type of external facilitator would we engage? It's like a therapist, or is that what we're looking at? Because I'm failing to understand how an external facilitator, what type of external facilitator we would need to use in this sort of circumstance. Is it therapy that we're looking for?
I'm in the hands of the council and I'm unable to explain who the facilitator would be, but there are a whole range of commercially available facilitators, I think.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to understand is what Councillor Giles is really trying to achieve here, because as she rightly pointed out, this has been going on since 2013, I think you said. There has been a lot of discussions. There has been a lot of robust discussions amongst residents and amongst themselves with the traders, etc. If we're just going to spend money on having someone facilitate a conversation to have people feel better that this is going to be a good or bad thing, or I don't understand what we're going to achieve. Is this going to be part of a report that we're going to make changes? We're going around in circles. At the end of the day, we are looking at making a decision on an option which is going to go to a full design, which along the way we will be communicated by administration about the design, as we have in other main streets. We did a 70% discussion design on Guja Street. There's plenty of opportunity for the members here to talk to the design along the way about what changes that they think the community would like to see within that design. It keeps going, Lord Mayor. It's not the end. This is just prolonging the inevitable that we are going to be doing the work and we're going to be having those discussions along the way. To do this is really just adding more money to our budget to facilitate a discussion, pay people to come in to do what we're going to be doing anyway.
Thank you. Can I just seek leave of the meeting to extend past 8:30? I did warn you. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Now we'll move on, and I've just lost the thread. I think it was Councillor Marr, Councillor Freeman. Then I think we should put this to the vote and then get back to the main motion.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Marr.
I think this is a great idea. I'll support the amendment. I'm still not going to support the full motion thereafter, but I would foreshadow that should we get to a motion later regarding option D, that I'd be happy to include this at that point in time. For one particular reason, why do we need this? We heard from a couple of deputations tonight and a couple of deputations at the committee last week that the council admin had been dishonest, provided false information, acted manipulatively in not talking about the on or off-peak parking situation with option D. That is incorrect. We've had 4 deputations now who have brought that up, and it is factually incorrect. At every point, the council admin have done what council has asked them to do. Option D, strictly speaking, is called the current concept inter-peak parallel parking option. It's in the name. So I don't know how we can have 4 separate deputations say that they didn't know there was going to be inter-peak parking. What this meeting will be doing...
Can I just suggest you stick to the wording of the amendment, because otherwise we're heading off into dangerous territory.
What this meeting does is it clarifies those kinds of misunderstandings. Having a all-in consultation post-decision on option B, option D, whatever it is, will clarify those concerns that clearly exist, because we've had 4 separate deputations make the same error. I'm sure there are other deputations that have made similar errors in the past. I'm sure there'll be more in the future. I think we should be doing this with every project, to be honest with you. So I support the amendment. Like I said, I won't support the full motion, and I'm happy to put this in with my option D motion later. Thank you.
Councillor Freeman, then Councillor Noon will have a few words to say, and then we'll put it to the vote.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. We've already established that in adopting this amendment, this is not consultation. This is retrospective to making a decision about the design. It doesn't actually change anything. This is about respecting that we have a real diverse range of views on this project, and it's actually been quite bitter towards the end. This is simply reassuring people of the decision that we've made. We saw this design a week ago. Okay, so no one in the community has probably seen this. This is our due diligence to actually walk people through the design that we've made a decision on, which I did say earlier I think is rushed. I don't see anything wrong with it. If we're concerned about costs, let's get a quote and work it out later. But I honestly don't understand the fear with this, given it's not changing anything else. It's just respecting that people are going to feel like losers in this decision. We tried to avoid winners and losers. I think we're still going to have them. This respects that people aren't getting the outcome they thought they did when they participated in consultation, and keeps faith that consultation actually is a valid use of our time and their time.
Noon?
Look, knowing Councillor Giles, I know that she's got the best intentions here, and you could apply this to so many projects. For example, Frome Road, Gooja Street, and we didn't. And the same angst, different issues, but very similar angst. At the end of the day, I'm not going to support this, and it's probably because of the last sentence, a meeting to occur prior to the development of the detailed design. We need to get on with this. We need to actually just move this on. I would like to see this happening, though, down the track. I just don't think that this is the right time to do this. And yeah, I do commend Councillor Giles for putting this forward, because I know she just wants to do the right thing for that community that she works so hard in. And so, but I just think the timing is out.
Councillor Giles, would you like to sum up?
This process of deciding what to do on Hutt Street has been long, and it has been painful, but there's been incidents within it that have gone against our policy of how we normally would do things. It's quite clear that at a particular time in this consultation process, there were individuals who used this issue for other purposes other than genuine community consultation, and that's my belief. I find it absolutely bizarre also that our local state member and Minister of the Environment and our federal member would get engaged in an issue about how many car parks there are on Hutt Street. The politicisation of this issue has taken the essence of how you manage an issue in a community away from the community and turned it into something else. I gather too there was even a motion going to Parliament around how many car parks there would be in Hutt Street. This issue should be embedded and kept in the community. This amendment, what it's attempting to do is let's put it back in the community and ask our sensible residents and business people to sit down together as a community and have a look at it, see whether it's it could be tweaked a bit or whatever, and provide their wisdom back to the council, because otherwise this, as I agree with Councillor Freeman, would be a very rushed process. It's something that really hasn't been properly considered by the community. So the process overall has not been rushed, but this last option, I think we only saw it last week for the first time. I think we need to build the bridges between different groups in the community, and that is the intention of this motion. That is the genuine intention of this motion, because I do not want consultation processes in the future to be rail-raided by vested interests or by people with other agendas.
Thank you, members. We're going to vote now on the amendment in red. So can I ask all those in favour of the amendment to raise their hands? And those against? That's an equivalence of votes, and I will vote against it for the reasons I said earlier, that I think that it would be misleading.
Lord Mayor, can we take it in parts?
The motion was moved by Councillor Couros and Councillor Noon. So taking it in parts, can I ask them if they're happy to do that? No, I'm just asking you if you're happy to have it taken in parts. Because members have asked if we can take it in parts, and I'm asking no, the mover is not happy to have it taken in parts. Okay, so we'll take it on block. Now, I just have to tell you that, mercifully, there are only 3 people left to speak. Councillor Abrahimzadeh, Councillor Kabada are able to speak because they're the only 2 that haven't. I think they're going to give up their rights because... Oh, Councillor Martin, did he... He seconded something.
Yes, he seconded
an amendment. That means, unfortunately, you have spoken. I'm sorry. Yes, regrettably. So can I just ask Councillor Couros if she would like to close the debate and let us vote?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. What a debate it's been. It is very true. We do need to bring we need to go on a journey, and we need to bring our community on a journey in regards to this war that has been created. And there is a little bit of a war between cyclists and between cars. And that shouldn't have to happen. It shouldn't have to happen, but it is happening. And it's happening because there's different priorities for different groups. But let's be clear that this council has always worked to try and understand each of those priorities. last term of council, a cycling working group was created. And on this cycling working group, we had residents and we had businesses. And this council removed the cycling working group to not have that line of communication between the two groups of people. We also started in last term of council the Bikeway Design Guide. This Bikeway Design Guide was a process in which we could design bike lanes within the City of Adelaide, because it's a complex city, it's a capital city, and every street is not the same. Every street has different priorities, but that too was something that we didn't continue with this term of council, except we went straight to this integrated transport strategy, which eliminated a bikeway design that we could use on each of our streets as a process in which we could understand how we could fit a bike lane and support the community in that way. So hence, here we are. Here we are because this argument is about bikes versus cars, it's about outdoor dining or pedestrian access or whatever it is. But what we're forgetting is that there is a community right here, there is a community that signed a petition that have worked really hard together between the traders and the residents to come to formulate that the revised option B is something that they can support, even though they have got a reduced car parking, even though the traders know that the car parking is important to the business, to the chicken shop, to the, like we said, the news agency, to the dry cleaner, to the chemist, the one that does make up a community. These businesses make a community. Why would you want to destroy it? Why would you want to think that this could be another Lygon Street, or just all outdoor dining? Why? These residents need to have those services at their doorstep. So here we are. The revised version is a perfect, and I know that we're hating this word, compromise. It is perfect because it delivers what it needs to deliver to help to have better cycling, safer cycling, because it's wider and because it also keeps the street as it is and upgrades it to the point where the residents wanted it. They wanted it, and the businesses where they wanted. Sorry. The residents wanted the public realm to be upgraded. The residents want better lighting. The residents and the businesses together want this, and they want to have their street revitalised. They don't want to have it destroyed.
So thank you. Back to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That's carried.
Division, Lord Mayor.
Members, a division has been called in relation to item 18.6. Please stand until your name has been called. Councillor Kabata, Councillor Kouros, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Davis, Councillor Siebentritt, Councillor Noon and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. Thank you.
I move for a 10-minute adjournment.
Move what, sorry?
A 10-minute adjournment.
I think we need to crack on. I would be keen to move on, if possible. I put it to the vote. I'm sorry? Clear the gallery, because I suspect most people want to go, and then we can carry on.
So, Lord Mayor, 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you.
2 minutes. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. There's nothing between you and dinner at this meeting. I couldn't.
Members, the council meeting has reconvened. Can you please take your seats?
I need to do a wee.
Okay, members, I think as I can see, Councillor Stephen Tritt, I'll ask him to move 11.
Yes, happy to move 11, Lord Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Marr. Is there any debate on that?
Happy to reserve my right, Lord Mayor. Summed up.
Seconder? No debate? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Thank you for that. Item 12, which is Caterpillar. Who's on Caterpillar? Councillor Martin, you're moving it. Seconded by Councillor Marr. Any debate on those recommendations? If not, I'll put that. All those in favour? Those against? That's thank you, members. I now ask the CEO if he would like to leave the room. He has a conflict on item 13.
Well, an interest at least.
Can I just observe, Lord Mayor, this is a really well-functioning council here at the moment.
Summed up.
So moved, Lord Mayor.
That the items
Can't find my paper.
May I ask it that they're taken separately? I would, Lord Mayor, because...
Are you happy with that, Councillor Giles?
Yes.
We'll take it in parts. Okay. Item 1 first. Is there any debate on that? Is that the one?
May I just ask for the addition of some words consistent with the discussion at committee, Lord Mayor? I'm just asking that, and I'll accept an assurance from the administration, we'll do so, that the public consultation includes the participation of the state government as proponents of the Southwark suburb and nearby residents of the suburb of Bowden. And I ask that, Lord Mayor, and I require a seconder if necessary, or if it's accepted by the administration, I don't.
Can I just have have the wording, because I didn't quite catch it. I just need to make sure we've recorded it accurately.
Sure. What I was asking was that the public consultation includes an invitation to the state government as proponents of the Southwark suburb to participate and nearby residents of the suburb of Bowden.
Would you be happy with an undertaking?
I am.
You are?
I am, yes.
We are happy, so we don't need to amend them. The CEO has given an undertaking to include those details.
And does the CEO require any expansion on why I've asked that in order to meet that expectation?
He will do it.
Thank you.
So, Councillor Siebentritt.
Just briefly in relation to Part 27B, Lord Mayor, I just want to thank the administration for the extra details we received through e-news. It is very helpful to break down why we're going from the current footprint to a future, and I just ask that that's sort of the layout that's being presented, where there's a detailed breakdown, that's provided for all future community buildings and parklands. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll put recommendation 1. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Can we take 2? Oh, it's only 2 left. Item 2. All those in favour? Oh, sorry.
There was an administration email in relation to this.
Was there an administration email? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Through the presiding member, following an undertaking given at the committee, the administration engaged with Blackfriars Primary School to understand whether they would be interested in something longer than a 5-year lease. Considering the options available, we've settled on a 9-year lease.
So therefore, this is an amendment, therefore, and is there a seconder? Councillor Kouros. Sorry, Councillor.
Thank you. Do I need to speak to the amendment?
I think it's clear.
Lord Mayor, I'm happy to accept the amendment.
Accept a I think it's gone as an amendment now. Right. So can I just have a vote on the amendment? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. That then becomes part of the motion, doesn't it? All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, members. So we'll move on to the next item. Number 50, item 15. So this is a City Finance. Councillor Siebentritt.
Happy to move that, Lord Mayor.
Moved by Councillor Siebentritt, seconded by Councillor Kabada. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Now moving on to item 16, which is Melbourne Street. Moved by Councillor Kouros, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any debate? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Item 17. Councillor Davis didn't vote for that. Sorry? Councillor Davis didn't vote. Sorry, Councillor Davis. I don't think you voted. Can we go back to that item? I voted in favour. I'm sorry? I voted in favour. Can we just check it again? All those in favour of this? All those against? Kabada didn't vote. You didn't do it. Sorry. Goodness me. Kick him out. Start again. All those in favour and against? That's carried unanimously. Sorry to keep trying to get you more to vote. It's item 17, moved by Councillor Giles, seconded by Councillor Marr. Any debate? If not? Any debate? If not, all those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Now, Her Majesty's, which is 18.1.
Yes, Lord Mayor, I need to immediately declare and complete, as I will while I'm out of the room, a conflict of interest. It is a material conflict. I'm a member of the board of the Adelaide Festival Trust. The Trust is a co-partner of the city. Therefore, I am unable to participate in this discussion. I will leave the room.
Councillor Martin is leaving the room. Councillor Noon has moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Marr, thank you. Councillor Noon.
Okay, members, I rise tonight in strong support of this motion to honour Barry Humphries OA, a global performer, a brilliant satirist and one of Her Majesty's Theatre's greatest admirers. Barry had a deep affection for Her Maj. He celebrated her restoration, championed her heritage and often joked that when he passed he would come back to haunt the theatre, that you might turn around and see him forever keeping an eye on the place he loved. It is classic Barry, theatrical and full of warmth and humour. In 2023 I moved the original motion calling for a commemorative artwork because Barry's legacy deserves something permanent and public. Since then, I've been involved in the fundraising committee working with the Adelaide Festival Centre and the Foundation and people who loved him. The proposal before us clearly meets all of Council's public art guidelines and aims to, as stated, to deliver a meaningful artwork to commemorate cultural figure. Importantly, the state government has recognised the significance of this project and provided support, which speaks volumes about Barry's impact and the wider value of this installation. The proposed artwork will sit just across the road from yet another Adelaide icon, the Adelaide Central Market, and alongside the emerging One Market development. This positioning will draw more people into the precinct, strengthening the cultural corridor and connect our heritage theatres with one of the city's most vibrant community and tourism destinations. And while Barry could be controversial in his satire, he never cherry-picked his targets. He sledged everyone, politicians, housewives, celebrities, society and himself, always holding a mirror up to the world and inviting us to laugh at our own idiosyncrasies. Barry's humour, his audacity, his occasional controversy and his boundless love for the stage all shape the creative spirit that Adelaide continues to be known for. This artwork honours that spirit, and proudly and permanently. Finally, while this motion is about Mr. Barry Humphries, I hope this will just be the start. Her Majesty's Theatre has hosted so many legends since 1913, and a future Walk of Fame would allow us to honour all those performers in the public realm, not just inside the building. I actually really commend this motion to Council. Thank you, members.
Thank you. Councillor Marr seconded it, then Councillor Davis.
Nothing to add, just that this is a fantastic use of, recognising the arts is good to see.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Let me start by saying something plainly, that Barry Humphries is an Australian legend. He is a man who built a global career on dressing up as a woman and holding a mirror to society. And I see a lot of myself in him. What an absolute legend. Now, if Dame Edna can do that in a frock and a wig, then surely Adelaide can manage its finances without turning every meeting into a disaster. And frankly, if Barry was still with us, I reckon he'd have a laugh at the idea that whilst we honour him, the Lord Mayor is circling the globe whilst we claim that we're in a budget repair and we can't afford to maintain our city.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Are we deviating off the topic here about travel overseas? I thought we were talking about Barry Humphries.
I think we are veering into the
talking about spending.
Irrelevant.
Right? So now let's separate the emotion from the economics. Now I support honouring Barry Humphries. He made his debut at Her Majesty's Theatre, and he contributed enormously to our culture. But this is not a question of whether he deserves recognition, because I think he absolutely does. But this motion is about timing, cost and priorities, and on that front the proposal collapses to me. We are being asked to spend $106,000 of ratepayers' money on discretionary artwork when businesses in our CBD are shutting their doors, homelessness is rising, there are 70,000 children living in poverty in this state, and our own long-term financial plan pushes us to the prudential borrowing limit within a few years. And we've burned through thousands of dollars on codes of conduct investigation, international travel that produce zero measurable benefit for the City of Adelaide. Every dollar we spend is a real dollar that comes out of ratepayers' pockets, and there is no magic money. There is no special artistic exemption from fiscal reality. The argument that we have a fund for this is exactly the kind of thinking that gets councils into trouble. Budgets are not licences to spend, they are disciplined to ensure we spend wisely. Right now, the responsible thing, the grown-up thing, is to focus on our essential services: clean streets, safe spaces, functioning infrastructure and business support and economic recovery. A bronze statue, no matter how deserving the subject, is not essential spending. So here's the truth. To me, the principle is fine, but the timing is terrible. We honour Barry Humphries best not by spending money we don't have, but by getting this city back into financial shape, something he himself, with his sharp wit and humour and brutal honesty, would no doubt tell us to do. But tonight, the City of Adelaide simply cannot afford this, and pretending otherwise is the exact kind of performance that Dame Edna would have roasted us for. Thank you.
I think Councillor Stephen-Tritt was next.
Lord Mayor, I just had a question for the administration. Can I just clarify, is this discretionary or do we have a public art capital works budget from which this would be paid from?
I believe we do have a percentage, but I'm not sure.
Through the presiding member, the 25-26 business plan and budget provides for $450,000 in the capital program for public art.
And how much have we spent of that so far through you, Lord Mayor?
I'm not sure. Can we get an answer from that?
Through the presiding member, while there are some priorities, we have the available funds in the budget.
Thank you. Is there any other comments on this? If there is no other speaker, Councillor Noon, do you want to sum up?
Just quickly. Look, we absolutely must focus on essential services, and we are. But a city can do more than just one thing at a time. We can address homelessness, support struggling businesses, and still invest modestly and wisely in cultural assets that bring people into the city and support those very businesses. I just also want to highlight that the chosen artist, Robert Hannaford AM, is, in mine and many other people's opinion, the only artist who could do this justice. His sculptures are part of Adelaide's cultural DNA, from Moe in Hindley Street to the much-loved Sir Donald Bradman at the Adelaide Oval. His ability to capture humanity and personality gives this project both artistic credibility and emotional weight. With the state government's support, with strong community backing, and with the location that enhances one of Adelaide's most iconic precincts, this artwork will become a genuine cultural and economic asset. And so I ask you to support this motion and finalise what we begun in 2023, because Barry always said he'd come back to haunt Her Majesties, and I've got no doubt that he, and maybe just a little bit of she, always promised that she would. Thank you.
All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. I'm sorry? Okay, no disorderly behaviour, thank you. I'd like to see if we could get Councillor Martin back, because he has an amendment for the next item. We don't want him to miss the chance. I think that some of us have had letters about the helping hand. I would require some explanation, because I did struggle to understand the details. So Councillor Martin's going to move an amendment that I think reflects issues around the helping hand, doesn't it?
Yes, I am, Lord Mayor, if I... 18.2. Lord Mayor, may I allow our colleagues to have a moment to look at the proposed changes?
I actually found this report quite difficult to understand all the options, so I might need some explanation.
Lord Mayor, just a quick question. Is this an alternative motion? Thank you.
It can be, yes.
Yeah, I think it's an alternate motion. I think that's legit. Yes.
Through the presiding member, it's a motion that's been moved.
There you go.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, can I first just say I'm a bit disappointed that, given that the Minister wrote to us on the 15th of October, that we've not had the opportunity at committee in October last month or this month to discuss it. And I do hope we can make the deadline, which, as the administration reports in the papers, is today. The matter is titled Submission to the Accommodation Diversity Code Amendment Consultation. But there are some implications in this which I'd like to raise and have done in the amendment. It became obvious, and this is the story behind it, became obvious to the Minister, at least during the consultation about accommodation diversity, that in the City of Adelaide there is this thing called an historic area overlay, which kind of trumps the City Living Code and made it very difficult in the context of that consultation for the planning people to avoid conflict between the two codes. And so, broadly speaking, this historic area overlay doesn't preclude development, but what it does is it makes any proposal in a heritage overlay area, it makes any proposal bound to prioritise the manner in which it deals with the historic area. And the Minister has asked, in that tussle between historic area overlay and between city overlay, city living overlay, which is trumps, which has primacy. Now, the administration has drafted a letter that has set out that we are asking for the accommodation diversity overlay to apply, as I understand it, across all heritage areas, all heritage overlay areas. And it does this at paragraph 19.1 by saying giving historic area overlays primacy would be at odds with our housing and city plan objectives to grow city population. Now, I disagree with that fundamentally, and I think we identified in September 2024 in our plan, our city plan, location by location in a very granular way, what our population targets are and what we want in terms of growth in each of these areas. And if I can just recall some of those, because I noted them today after looking at our plan, that we've actually been quite specific. We've said that, may I have, thank you, we've actually said, so for example, in Hutt Street, we're saying that in 15 years, we want to see 9.8% of the growth towards 50,000. And we're saying in other areas like O'Connell Street, for example, that we're expecting 5% of our growth over the next 15 years to come from that area. And similarly in North Adelaide, and I'll mention North Adelaide because I know it, Wellington Square, 0.2%. So we've been very, very specific around the kinds of population figures we want to see. Now, there are arguments from people like the Helping Hand, which you identified, who say, look, we want 6 stories in our proposed development in North Adelaide, which will run between Gover and Childers. And they say this expansion will be made possible by this change. But look, as I already understand it, that's possible now. They can go by seeking an exemption, just as, for example, SCAP is about to consider a proposal for a 10-storey building in Archer Street. So what I'm proposing is that this letter is amended so that the contribution of the status of heritage overlays, where they apply, will apply in North Adelaide and South Ward. And they're the only places where the heritage overlays actually mesh with the City Living Code, as I understand it. So this will actually avoid what I think could be unintended consequences. And look, I'd like to explore all of that, but unfortunately we're on deadline. This letter has to go, according to the administration's notes, by the 9th of December. So I'm asking that we simply say that in this instance we would prefer the historic overlay structure to have that consideration it has now.
So could I just ask from the Chair if there are unintended consequences, because I know they have put in an application for an extensive rebuild. So will this preclude that? I can't, I'm sorry, I just don't quite grasp the details. Can I ask?
Through the presiding member, Mr Herodes.
Just to ensure I address the nub of the question, Lord Mayor, is the question specifically related to the Helping Hand proposal and then in the context of the proposed code amendment? Thank you, just yes. So I'm keeping the answer specific. The Helping Hand proposal, which is seeking a 4-storey development as it currently stands, also sought to be included or exempted from the considerations of this particular code amendment and the city's response. with the view to see if it could get to 6 levels of height. What I can't determine or provide an assessment on, based on the current position, is under current zoning, and it's important we separate zoning and overlays. Helping Hand can proceed with the 4 levels. They were hoping that should this code amendment proceed, it would ease their pathway to a 6-level development. That's, without getting into an assessment process, that's the best I can offer at this time, noting we don't have an approval of the code amendment change that is proposed by this report.
Freeman, you probably understand.
Yeah, just a question, maybe an undertaking for the administration. Are we able to go away and just map out what the process would likely be for Helping Hand, understanding we're not the authority, or we might be, versus what it would look like under this change? And obviously this is at the discretion of the minister, but I'm just looking through this and trying to understand how the process might differ.
If I might, through the presiding member, if I might assist, perhaps the question should be, does the motion as moved and seconded present any barriers to Helping Hand's pathway?
I think they've actually just not failed. They've just failed to get planning approval for something. Have they not?
Thank you, and through the chair, consistent with my previous answer, in moving to option 3 as proposed, we don't see at face value any limitation to Helping Hand at 4 levels. It's difficult to comment on their request to go to 6.
If there's no other comment, Councillor Marr.
There's a lot of talk about Helping Hand. Maybe a more general question, because this motion is not just about one particular development. I think the question that we should be considering in the chamber, and I'm not asking this, I'm presenting that this is what we should be thinking about, is do we want to have a preference for our historic area overlay, or do we want to have a preference for the city living zone? That's ultimately what we are dealing with today, and talking about a single development is one thing, but it does have an effect to entire areas. So anyway, to that point, I support Councillor Martin's motion.
Okay.
Oh, look, Lord Mayor, only to reiterate, it would have been good to have talked about this at length, because I would like to have understood more. But certainly in the conversations that I've had today from concerned stakeholders, there is a concern that we are perhaps inadvertently devaluing the heritage overlay status. And I would not want to do that. I would not want to even risk that in these circumstances where we are simply responding to a ministerial inquiry, which may or may not be appropriate. I just add that in terms of our current planning system, it is subject to various submissions from developers, and therefore it is possible to get variations to height limits in any circumstance where there are offsets that the Planning Commission considers are worthy of inclusion, and therefore they grant additional height or any other variation to the plan. So I understand Helping Hand's position. I still think that they've got a branch to cling to, even if we amend this letter in this way.
Since we have an equivalent, possibly an equivalent of numbers, might just speak from the chair and say the only thing I teased out of this amendment, which was weighty to say the least, was that when we previously looked at this documentation, we complained that there was one lavatory for 10 beds, and that had an impact. They removed the reference to ratios of bathroom facilities from the document. So I'm not sure if that's a win or not, but anyway. All those in favour of the motion as varied. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Division has been called.
Members' division has been called. Please stand in favour of the motion till your name has been called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Abrahimzadeh, Councillor Giles, Councillor Couros, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Marr, Councillor Davis, Councillor Sibandry and Councillor Noon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord Mayor, a question before we get into this.
Yes?
Who was the current member of CAP and who was the current deputy member of CAP, just to be clear for the room?
It's Councillor Abrahimzadeh is the member and Councillor Freeman is the deputy or the proxy.
And what would occur if Councillor Freeman were elected to the member of CAP? Would we immediately have a new motion today to fill the deputy position?
I think we have a motion ready to go.
Thanks.
So it's the initial matter is to decide to appoint someone and note the method. So we could ask someone to move that. Councillor Giles and seconded by Councillor Kabada. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. So now we get to the point of asking for nominations for a position of the on CAP. Councillor Freeman?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to nominate Councillor Abrahimzadeh. I've heard that he does a great job on the CAP from those I've spoken to, so I'm sure he would welcome the nomination again.
Councillor Abrahimzadeh, you're prepared to accept it? Yes, accepted. Any other nominations? Councillor Marr?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Freeman. I know she's got some interest in this area. And
Councillor Freeman, do you want to accept the nomination?
Am I able to make a personal explanation? Why not? I will accept the nomination only because as deputy member I am very interested in participating in the CAP in some form. It is my preference that a practitioner is a member on CAP, like Councillor Abrahimzadeh and myself, but I'll put it to the floor and let the group decide, and we'll, in fairness of the competition.
In the interest of time, Lord Mayor, I'm happy to withdraw that nomination, so I'll reject that nomination if that's okay.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Davis.
Then that person is elected.
Through the presiding member, there being only one nomination for the position of council member on the council assessment panel, I declare Councillor Freeman duly appointed, which now creates a vacancy for the deputy.
So,
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Abrahimzadeh for deputy.
Councillor, he would accept it, thank you. That would be just a swapping of positions. And no other nominations? Okay.
There being a single nomination for the position of Deputy Council Member to the Council Assessment Panel, I declare Councillor Abrahimzadeh duly appointed.
Motion, I'm sorry. So that's moved by Councillor Marr, seconded by Councillor Noon. And this is as printed for the Deputy Council Member as required. All those in favour? Sorry? Well, you could if you insisted. But I've just taken the vote, I'm afraid. Sorry. But I think we should... I know, I'm moving on rapidly. It's... sorry? And moving on now to the Performance Review Panel, 18.4. Councillor Freeman.
Can I move it?
Yes, and can we have a seconder? Councillor Marr. All those in favour? All those against? Just the process. So now I'm calling for nominations. Councillor Freeman.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Siebentrit.
Councillor Siebentrit, are you prepared to accept it?
I am, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. I think it's accepted. Are there any other nominations? Councillor Kabada?
Who is on there at the moment?
I'm sorry?
Is there anyone else on there from council?
Deputy Lord Mayor is on the... And yourself. And myself, yes. So there are 3 members and two independent.
I'd like to nominate myself.
And you will accept it. We'll have a vote on that. So we have Councillor Siebentrit and Councillor Kabada. Thank you. You've got a pen.
Members, there are 2 candidates, Councillor Siebentrit and Councillor Kabada. Please mark your ballot paper with one of those 2. Are we allowed to move on? Can I seek leave of the meeting to move on to the next item? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. So now I'm asking if we can agree the appointment scheme for the Adelaide High School, 18.5. Moved by Councillor Marr, seconded by Councillor Kabada. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. I'm nervous about having too many votes at once. It's okay, we'll just seek nominations. Are there any nominations? Councillor Marr?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Siebentrit.
Councillor who? Siebentrit. Sorry. Councillor, are you happy to take it? Yes. Any other nominations? It's a rich gift. No other? I think we could have him returned.
Through the presiding member, there being a single nomination for the council member representative on the Adelaide High School Governing Council, I declare Councillor Siebentrit duly appointed.
Thank you. So we could move on. Have we finished the voting?
They're just finalising now, but we can move on to 18.
Could we move on to 18.7, the behavioural management policy? We had a debate and we considered some changes. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Kabada. Okay. Can you tell us what your amendment is?
Does the mover and seconder want to speak?
Do the mover and seconder wish to speak before we... No, Councillor Noon. Have you got a seconder? Councillor Couros.
Look, I know this is a very beige topic and with after so much colourful topics tonight, but it is important and potentially will impact all of us. The policy requires a contact officer, the CEO, to appoint an external complaints assessor and potentially an investigator. What we have been told through the e-news is that the CEO will draw these appointments from the City of Adelaide's Legal Services Panel. Now, let me be very clear. Our legal service panel is excellent for what it was built for, providing legal advice across a range of specialist legal disciplines. But the assumption that a law firm or any lawyer within it is automatically the right person to assess and manage behavioural issues is fundamentally flawed. Behavioural complaints are about people, emotions, conflict, communication and relationship dynamics. They are rarely, if ever, purely legal matters. To test my thinking, I shared this policy with two leading experts in behavioural management that I used to work at the AICD. One of them is a lawyer and a specialist in mediation, conflict management and local government behavioural issues. She's been a mayor, a councillor and is presenting to the LGA SA Deputy Lord Mayor's Forum in February. Her response, something around the lines of, you cannot rely on the legal lens alone to assess behavioural issues. Behavioural matters are human matters, often emotional and not just to be seen through the legal lens. And I believe she's absolutely correct. Most behavioural complaints don't escalate because someone has deliberately breached a rule. They escalate because the early handling lacks the emotional intelligence, mediation skill or behavioural insight needed to resolve the issue before it grows. A strictly legal approach can actually escalate conflict, not resolve it. If the assessor is not trained in behavioural management or conflict resolution, they may misunderstand the issue, misinterpret intent or overlook the interpersonal dynamics at the heart of the problem. That is how we end up with unnecessary investigations, heightened tensions, damaged relationships and increased costs to the organisation. So tonight I'm not proposing a new panel. I am not adding layers of process. I'm proposing one safeguard, that the person appointed as assessor or investigator must be legally qualified and have verified expertise in behavioural management, mediation, conflict resolution and ideally local government behavioural matters. This aligns with the Act, which does list mediation, arbitration, conflict resolutions, coaching and training as legitimate tools for resolving complaints. The law itself recognises that behavioural issues, just a little bit more please, are not courtroom issues, they are people issues. Colleagues, this amendment ensures that the person making critical decisions about behaviour has the right training, the right lens, not just a law degree. And also about the timelines, is 6 or 7 months ideal? No, but is it responsible? I believe it is, because the incoming council will require to review this policy within 12 months of taking office. Without an interim review, they will be asked to evaluate a policy that they have barely used without sight into what worked or what didn't and why we actually supported it in the first place or not. We owe it to the next council to hand them something that has been somewhat tested, refined and properly understood. This amendment strengthens the policy, it supports fairness, it improves outcomes, it ensures behavioural complaints are handled by people with the right capabilities, not just legal credentials. Colleagues, this is about setting up a system that works for us now and for those who come after us. Thank you.
Councillor Kouros, do you want to contribute to that? No. Councillor Martin, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Maher. Gosh.
Can I ask the administration for its assessment of the proposal before us?
Through the presiding member, quite clearly. I would refer the chamber to paragraph 5.5 of the behavioural management policy before you, which clarifies that the assessor, with respect to a complaint, is the person chosen by the contact officer on a case-by-case basis who has the appropriate qualifications, knowledge, experience or expertise to conduct a complaint assessment. The policy itself requires, in its current form, requires the need for appropriate qualifications, knowledge and experience. In terms of the wording of what's before the chamber, I'm not clear about the intent, whether we're talking about a legally qualified practitioner who has expertise in behavioural management, mediation, conflict resolution and local government conflict management. That's a pretty big brief. the motion in its current form would also potentially preclude us referring to the local government risk services manager.
Councillor Martin.
Yes, I understand. I'm interested in the last comment. Is it correct that the CEO is saying that what we have here is an amendment that requires the legal practitioner appointed as the assessor or the investigator to have qualifications in addition to their legal practitioner's qualification, particularly in conflict resolution, behavioural management and so on. But you're saying this would also have the unintended consequence of preventing us seeking the services of the local government risk assessment service. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's...
Through the presiding member, that's my advice.
So, may I ask through you, Lord Mayor, I think that's an unintended consequence. I think the mover has made clear what they wish. Is there a means by which this amendment could be adopted without in any way limiting the capacity of the administration to consult with the local government association's risk assessment service?
Insert the word either.
Or inter alia.
Lord Mayor, my Latin is not as good as yours. Between in and behavioural, expertise in either behavioural management, mediation, that opens the door enough.
Shouldn't it be or? So, do you wish to sum up? Sorry. Well, I tried to get away with it. Go on. Councillor Marr, it was a good try. Councillor Freeman.
Thank you, Councillor Marr.
Not everybody needs to speak.
I'll be brief. I was going to
Not
propose a variation, which the CE's kindly done for me. And just a final comment as well. I think having the commitment to review this in 6 months' time, it's also an opportunity to see how this is functioning and do we have the right people involved in this process. I think we can revise it from there if we need to.
Thank you. 5.5, as CEO points out, is not the only one we probably need to be looking at. There's also 7.12, which is the external investigator definition, and it has the same definition there. Is not a council member or employee and is in the opinion of the external complaints assessor a person with appropriate qualifications, knowledge, experience, expertise to conduct an investigation under the policy. I think this is already in there. I don't think we need to do this. I think this is covered by the behavioural management policy as currently printed. However, I don't mind the idea of having a review before we go to the next council. That seems to make sense to me. So I might suggest that perhaps maybe we need to format this 1.1, 1.2, but if we could take it in parts instead of taking this amendment fully as printed right there.
Aiming to move an amendment?
No, I'm just asking if we were able to take this in parts, we might need to format it slightly differently so that we could take it in parts. I'm indicating that I wouldn't support the first dot point, but I'd be happy to support the second dot point.
Sorry? I don't know whether the mover wants it to be changed.
In that case,
we've still got people speaking, unfortunately.
In that case, then I'll just settle and I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
So Councillor Kouros has not spoken. She doesn't want to. Oh, you are. Sorry. It's a good try.
We haven't voted on the amendment yet. Is that right?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I know we're wanting to speed this up. It's been a very long evening, but I just want to commend Councillor Noon for bringing this forward, because I know what she's trying to do, and I think she's achieving this in this motion, is that we need to have some sort of a mediation before anything escalates. This council, as I've seen for the past 7 years, there's a very toxic relationships can develop if you don't nip it in the bud very early. Sorry, Lord Mayor, I don't know. I can see you shaking your head. I think that when nitpicking this, it's a way forward. Let's give it a go. Let's review it and let's move on, because I swear we've been talking about this for too long.
So I think that we'll close off the amendment, but as I may get the chance to vote on a tied vote, I will vote against the amendment on the basis that, in my experience, behavioural management investigations can take 6 months very often because there are contravening and cross complaints that tie people up and give them conflicts of interest, and matters are delayed because people can't be party to investigations. So I think the timeline is unreasonable. I also think one of the problems with having mediation and all these other conditions is that it's quite difficult to find someone with all those qualifications, and the core capacity is legally qualified practitioners. So I will vote against this if given a chance. So can I ask you to sum up the amendment, Councillor?
Just quickly, I just want to refer to that 5.5.2, you know, where we talk about a person with appropriate qualifications, knowledge, experience and expertise to conduct a complaints assessment. When I put this to, you know, the couple of experts in their field, they thought that this policy was too broad. And I guess my amendment is just making it more specific, because appropriate qualifications, knowledge and experience could be subjective. So this is what I'm trying to do, is to actually ensure that we're really clear. In fact, there's other areas of the policy I would like a little bit clearer as well, but I've just focused on this one, and we'll do perhaps that in the assessment 6 months down the track.
So we're only putting the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? Against? That's carried. So that becomes the motion. Councillor Davis wished to speak to the motion.
Thank you. This policy will take a slight wound and turn it into a fatality. This will damage relationships irreparably. And if you thought people had beef before this process, boy oh boy will they have beef after it. This process, by design, allows a dominant faction to weaponise these processes to attempt to intimidate those who may be critical.
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
Point of order has been...
Yeah, sorry, I would like to get some clarity on what is the dominant faction referred to and how that has any relevance with this motion.
I think it's a trope.
Because if it's not relevant, I'm still speaking, thank you. It is a distraction to this motion and the function of this chamber.
I think that you should keep to the policy, Councillor.
Yeah. So what it allows, and let me explain it, is that a dominant faction who have the majority can weaponise these processes.
Lord Mayor, he's resumed again, and in the previous sentence said that the dominant faction will use it to intimidate. Now that is just an appalling assertion and in breach of the behavioural code that requires us to work in a collegiate fashion and to have respect for one another. That is disrespectful.
I think it is disrespectful.
I think you're proving my point. I think you're actually straight up proving my point. A dominant faction can weaponise these processes.
Councillor,
and we can create a process that doesn't do that.
Councillor, can you sit down, please? I think that we are moving towards a Regulation 29 because it's not appropriate if there is a point of order to always claim that someone is attacking you, because they're not. It's a point of order. I think Councillor Freeman was really quite respectful, as was Councillor Martin. So I don't think that you are in any way being intimidated. In fact,
Oh, no, I'm not saying now. I'm saying the process can lead to that.
No.
That's what I'm saying, is I'm saying that this process allows that to happen.
I don't think that you should cast any aspersions on other members of council.
I'm not. I'm saying this process and the policy does do that.
I'm speaking. I'm saying, could you please stick to the matter before the chamber?
I think my point is obvious. The language, however, is vague and can be interpreted however you want. The definition of trivial is missing, and requirements for alternative dispute resolution process are also non-existent in my view, and there should be mandatory dispute resolution processes put in place. Now, this policy will lead to tens of thousands of ratepayers' funds being spent on meaningless complaints that our ratepayers don't care about. They don't care about our petty squabbles. This damages the reputation of council. So I don't support a policy that encourages the destruction of relationships and financially incentivises lawyers to profit from these very minor quarrels that turn into long-lasting disputes that end up in court, that end up going over years and years in council and cost tens of thousands of dollars because a dominant faction can control the outcome.
Look, Lord Mayor,
of
can I move
that
Regulation
complaint.
29? I am sick to death of
Regulation
him.
29 has been called on the basis that is the council saying the council has been...
I heard you on 2 or 3 occasions suggest to the councillor it was not appropriate to be inferring that the dominant faction would in some way employ this as a strategy to waste ratepayers' money and to intimidate. Now, that is the assertion that has repeatedly been made.
I
he has
agree,
been corrected, and yet he makes it continually.
I know. I find in favour that there has been disrespectful conversation, and I would ask Councillor...
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
Yes, Councillor.
I dispute your ruling and what has just been said. The councillor before us is talking about in general sense. He did not out anyone in this chamber. Sit down. I haven't finished.
No, Councillor, please.
I have not finished.
Councillor, really? This is...
I have not finished.
No,
I keep
Councillor,
getting interrupted.
Councillor, please do not argue.
He has not told,
Councillor,
outed
this
anyone.
is getting towards the 29. Please just sit down. I'm going to hear
No,
Councillor
my point of order hasn't been finished.
No. Will you sit down? I'm going to hear a point of order from Councillor Martin.
It's look, the death stare is a form of intimidation, Lord Mayor. Look, it continues from both sides of this.
So I'm going to just ask that Councillor Davis gives a personal explanation or an explanation of some sort.
Yeah, it's... Well, hold on. Councillor Kouros is still in the middle of a point of order.
No, I'm not. I'm the presiding member. I have asked you to give a personal explanation.
Yeah, I'm expressing a view about a policy, all right? So now, I'm not sure how many of you have read Regulation 29, but you will end up in the Supreme Court at some point. It has to be improper or disorderly behaviour. So for me to criticise a policy on the basis that it can be weaponised by a dominant group of councillors and express that we could do this better in a way that doesn't allow that to happen, in a way that doesn't facilitate that to occur, it's not disorderly behaviour. And, I mean, I think that this is just going to highlight my point, to be quite honest with you. So let's see how the vote goes, because what I'm saying is I'm trying to build a more robust system. And I've written an entire paper on how we can improve our governance processes, and I tried to discuss that with you. Now, this is my view, is that, that's how these processes work. They get dealt with by the Lord Mayor, who can choose whether to accept it or not, and in my experience, codes of conduct are not treated equally between different members as they progress through this process. So absolutely it can be weaponised in its current form. So the suggestions and amendments that I made at committee, those are ways to remove that ability for a dominant faction to do that. Let's not just pretend it doesn't happen. Of course it happens. Of course, in every council in the state, people get together, they get the numbers and they push things through. That's how democracy works. That's fine. But these types of behavioural complaints shouldn't be allowed to fracture relationships irreparably. And what I believe is that this policy is designed to do exactly that.
I think, Councillor, you're getting into the debating. I wanted you, if you could, to give a personal explanation. You veered away from that now.
Well, I'm saying that I'm literally debating the policy which has an outcome.
debating the policy is not what's required to be done.
No, I'm saying, no, that's what my personal explanation is. I'm debating the policy about how it can be used, how it can be weaponised against people who might be seen as critical of the council when they have every right to be. And that's my point. So it's not disorderly to point out that there's a broken system that leads to tens of thousands of dollars in ratepayers' money being spent. And look, I think we're about to have an example of how this would work. So.
Situation very well.
But can I also have governance advice? Because how can it be disorderly for me to criticise a policy?
That was not the point. It was about casting.
No, I never made it. I
members.
never casted an aspersion against anybody. I'm saying that it was. I never said that.
I've made a ruling.
Can I have governance advice?
You may disagree with it, but could I ask you to leave the room now, and the members will discuss it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor. Will be prepared to move a motion that Councillor Davis has contravened Regulation 29 by being disorderly and speaking of other members in a disrespectful way. I will ask if anyone's prepared to move that motion. If they're not, Councillor Martin is. Councillor Marr is prepared to second it. Can I ask if there's any debate?
If Councillor Martin doesn't wish to speak...
Can I just ask the mover and seconder? The mover is not prepared to...
Yeah,
Seconder, Councillor Marr.
Thank you. Let's not get stuck in the weeds here. I don't think the point of order was not about the opinion on the policy. It was about the inclusion of the phrase dominant faction, which, I've just done a quick search, dominant faction, weaponised, doesn't appear in the policy. So I think that's what the core issue here is about the language regarding other members. I've seconded this for the sake of having the debate. I believe it's right on the line. I'm not sure I want to exclude Councillor Davis from the rest of the meeting as a result of the outcome of this process. But I do think maybe we can just bring the tempo down a little bit, and once we get back into it, we can move on.
So, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, look, Lord Mayor, I will speak to this. And may I first address Councillor Kouros's point of order and her displeasure at my seeking to intervene. Regulation 29 is a motion that requires you to immediately respond, not for there to be a debate in the chamber. That is what it's all about. This is where the debate occurs. Now, in respect of what has occurred, it was this assertion that dominant factions would use this to intimidate people, but moreover, that it was repeated. Despite your warnings to the Speaker to cease that, it kept being woven back into the conversation. When the Regulation 29 was moved, the tone changed completely. It was almost acceptable until he inferred that Lord Mayors, and there are only one Lord Mayor in South Australia that I understand, Lord Mayors handle complaints differently. Now, this kind of behaviour is just not appropriate. It's not a proper assertion, and it brings disrepute onto this chamber and to everyone in it. And moreover, Lord Mayor, to defend that, as I'm expecting we'll hear, is equally, in my view, unacceptable. Now, I'm not going to move that Councillor Davis is expelled for the evening. I'm not going to do that. The break, I think, has worked. He did settle, and there were no more of those assertions, aside from the assertion that Lord Mayors treat complaints differently. I do hope that when Councillor Davis returns, that we can complete this meeting without any further disruption of the kind that we've seen.
So can I just seek advice about when Councillor Davis returns? Have we timed how long he was speaking before? That's fine. Thank you. Councillor... Sorry? I apologise. I can understand. Councillor Kouros, did you have your hand up or was it? Yes. Thank you. And then Councillor Freeman.
Again, Regulation 29 is used as a weapon against someone speaking their mind in what they feel that this particular, funny enough, behavioural policy is what we're talking about. He didn't name anyone as part of any faction of this council. He was talking about future. He was talking about what this could happen. He wasn't talking about anything that within this council. If anyone took this personally, then it's on you. Then it's something that you're feeling. Then maybe that's something that you think that you're doing. Maybe you are possibly doing part of a faction aligned here. But I think to penalise someone who was speaking their mind because of what they felt that a particular policy might do in the future without even mentioning anyone's name, I think is appalling. I think that is not democratic, and we are not acting in a democratic way. What we're trying to do is trying to silence someone because you don't like what they're saying. And yes, that makes me angry because I am all for democracy. I am all for hearing other person's opinion. I'm not there to silence anyone because I don't like what I hear. That is wrong, and that is what you are doing. And if you don't like what I'm saying,
point of order,
put
Lord
Regulation 29
Mayor.
as part of mine as well.
I am not trying to silence anyone. And there we go, cross-chamber conversation. Lord Mayor, I am not trying to silence anyone.
Order, Lord Mayor, it's as democratic as what I would like to speak my mind, because if we are in a democracy, that is what I feel.
I'll try to keep this swift. That was my first point of order. If I've got it wrong, I accept that. I did take it personally because there have been previous remarks in the chamber and the committee room about the woke faction, the dominant left. So I did interpret that as an inference to particular people in this room. If I got that wrong, I do apologise to Councillor Davis, and I would withdraw my point of order. That said, it was repeated. There was an instruction not to say dominant faction, and it was repeated. At what point do we stop victimising people that are repeatedly doing what they're asked not to do? We have to keep this chamber under control and do the job we're here to do. That is not personal. And if that's taken personal, then it's very hypocritical, the remarks that were just made. That said, I won't be supporting any action as a result of the Reg 29, but I think it's important that we do maintain control.
Mr. Cavard, no. Whether Councillor Davis has contravened the Section 29. So can I ask, if unless there's any summing up, are you voting or? Oh, all those in favour? 1, 2, 3. Are those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's lost. Thank you very much. So the member could be brought back in again. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that 4-4? Can I take that again? Can we have a division? I missed that. Can we have a division? All those in favour of a Section 29 being found? 1, 2, 3, 4. And against?
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3. Sorry. I'm sorry, Councillor. It's my fault. I couldn't count. I couldn't count. I think I'll vote in favour of the 29. 29 in favour. I'm sorry, I was lost when Councillor Giles left the room. In that case, could we really bring Councillor Davis back in again? Hang on, we need So the subsequent motion is, are we going to have any other outcomes, which could be denying re-entry, exclusion, or just censure?
I'm happy to move there's no further outcomes, Lord Mayor. I think the point's been made.
Seconded. Are you voting in favour? Yes. All those as moved by Councillor Stephen-Tritt and Councillor Noon. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Shall we have him back in again? We're going to move on now to voting on the motion as amended. Councillor, please return to the room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We decided in favour of the offence, but with no following censure. Thank you. So now we're going to, you have, how many minutes left?
A minute and a half.
You have 1 minute left to continue speaking, so please continue.
If I've got a minute, I'll take it. So the problem is that relationships in this place, they form, and that's very natural, and people align on their views. The problem is that if it can be weaponised and abused. And so we should create a system that doesn't allow that to happen, which doesn't allow members to gang up on one person because they have a contrary view and because they call out behaviours. The whole reason why we got elected was on the basis of a democracy. You should be able to come and criticise behaviours. You should be able to criticise policy outcomes and then walk out, have dinner and get over it. Now, this process, in my view, is designed to entrench hatred between councillors, and it does exactly that. It develops factions and it keeps them together. And so I won't be supporting this because it does exactly that. And I think, members, I rest my case from what happened just before.
Thank you.
Lord Mayor, I do have a point of order from earlier. I did not wish to interrupt Councillor Davis, so I thought I'd hold on to it for a moment. While we were discussing the previous point of order, Councillor Kouros shouted at Councillor Martin, and I believe that was actually a more...
I have a point of order.
I think I've got the floor.
Can you only listen to one at a time? That's very interesting.
I believe that was more disorderly than the behaviour we had from Councillor Davis, and I do think we need to address that one.
I did warn Councillor Kouros that she was moving towards 29 and she did slow down somewhat. So can I ask that we put this motion as amended to the vote unless there's any summing up from Councillor Noon? No, we're all too worn down. All those in favour as amended?
Yes,
as amended. Are those against? That's carried. Thank you. A division has been called.
Members' division has been called in relation to the motion. Please stand in favour until your name has been called. Councillor Martin, Councillor Kabada, Councillor Kouros, Councillor Freeman, Councillor Siebentritt, Councillor Noon and Councillor Abraham today. Thank you.
Item 19.1. Can I ask someone to move as printed?
We need to declare the ballot results.
Oh yes, we need to declare the ballot.
Through the presiding member, in relation to the ballot for the appointment of a council member to the CEO performance panel, on a majority of votes, I declare Councillor Siebenstritt appointed.
Congratulations, Councillor. Item 19.1, that's... I don't know.
Through the presiding member, for those who need to know the numbers, Councillor Siebenstritt 6, Councillor Kabada 5.
We'll move on to item 19.1. Can someone move as printed?
Do we not need a result on the CAP assessment as well?
No, that was decided. Sorry. 19.1, moved by Councillor Siebentritt, seconded by Councillor Noon. Any debate? Councillor Davis.
Thank you. This report expects us to simply note the Lord Mayor's latest international tour. Now, New York, Rio, Belém, as though this is normal business for a council that can't balance its books, has businesses closing, homelessness rising and a long-term financial plan leading straight into the prudential borrowing ceiling. Let's call this for what it is.
It would be appropriate to stick to the matter in hand.
Discussing finances is very relevant. Costs come into everything. So describing the fact that we're in budget repair, according to so many people, whilst, let's call this what it is, another international junket with no measurable benefit to the ratepayers.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. It is continuing. You are accused of going on a junket. You are accused of misspending ratepayers' money when others are languishing, businesses, others, it seems, and the council finances are in strife. You have been junketeering.
Correct.
That is offensive. It is in breach of the code. He's done it again. Why do we sit here and tolerate this kind of behaviour?
Someone is in the chair and someone's being abused. It's a much more difficult process.
You're being criticised. We're told this strengthened relationship enhance Adelaide's global profile and position Adelaide as a credible partner. Now, that is PR language. No outcome was truly achieved. There's not a single KPI in this report, not $1 of investment, no binding partnerships, not one concrete deliverable for the City of Adelaide. We didn't host COP31. We were never going to host COP31, in my view, and even if we did, that event would run at a loss of more than $1.5 billion. So the idea that this travel was some strategic masterstroke simply does not stack up for me. Now, we paid for these international trips. In my view, we wasted staff time, there was huge opportunity cost, and the operational drag caused by having the Lord Mayor overseas for weeks. Meanwhile, at home, we can't even keep our basic services funding without scrapping the bottom of the financial barrel. Now, we're supposed to applaud the Lord Mayor having 12 speaking engagements, one of them with Al Gore, which is actually pretty cool. But ratepayers don't really care how many round tables the Lord Mayor sat on. They care about their clean streets, functioning infrastructure, safety, improved business activity and financial stability, none of which improved because of this trip. This motion normalises the behaviour and it pretends that the money was well spent and it invites more of the same. I will not support it. If the Lord Mayor wants to participate in global diplomacy, she is very welcome to run for federal parliament and become the foreign minister. But as long as she is the Lord Mayor of Adelaide, her job is here, not collecting stamps in a diplomatic passport paid for by the people who are already struggling. So I oppose this motion in the strongest terms.
Did you wish to speak, Councillor?
I'm going to sum up.
Councillor Freeman.
I just had a question, Lord Mayor. When the decision to send you on this junket was approved unanimously by Council on the 9th of September this year, was Councillor Davis present for the vote?
I was out of the room, so I'm not sure. Come on, we do not.
Lord Mayor, look, I will speak, and I do resent the tone of the criticism. Now, it's reasonable to say that we shouldn't expend money on particular activities, but there's a personal inference in there that somehow you've been globetrotting, collecting passport stamps, junketeering. That, and he shouts across the chamber. I didn't quite catch that. Yeah, he agrees. He agrees. It is disrespectful. It is entirely in breach of the behavioural code.
Are you raising a point of order, Councillor?
Well, no, I'm not going to do that, Lord Mayor. I should do it. I should do it. But just like everyone else in the chamber, I am so tired of this dishevelled behaviour from somebody who ought to be putting a better foot forward. He ought to be, and look, there he goes, squinting at me as if to mock me. Lord Mayor,
I have a point of
Councillor,
order.
it might be appropriate to stick to the motion.
I think that's right. That's going to be my point of order.
Can you sit down, Councillor Davis?
Okay, I'll stick to the motion. Lord Mayor, I will acknowledge that you were doing precisely what the chamber asked. The chamber, and I seem to recall it was unanimously, agreed that you would go and represent the City of Adelaide in your endeavours in the US and in South America to try to secure COP31. Whatever the ideological disdain that some characters might have for an event that would bring something in the order of 50,000 delegates with money in their pockets to spend in restaurants, in bars, in hotels, why that should be condemned as a behavioural problem, I have no idea. I do know, and I say this with great sincerity, I do know from conversations with you while you were away, and I did have sufficient interest to see what was going on, what our chances were, I know that you were working day and night. It didn't matter when I rang, you had either just been or were just going to some event to lobby for the City of Adelaide. Now there he goes again, sneering quietly over there in the corner. It is a Regulation 29, it's entirely disrespectful, but we're just so tired of his behaviour. Lord Mayor, may I commend you on your tireless efforts and express regret that you weren't successful, but you were there. You were trying to do something positive for the state of South Australia and the City of Adelaide instead of trying to tear it down.
I think was next, and then maybe Councillor Freeman and Councillor Couros.
Thank you. I echo that sentiment, Councillor Martin, and thank you for your efforts. Maybe a question, and I'm happy for this to go on notice, as I understand parts of this will be in the expense reports that we'll get anyway. How much of this were expenses borne by the council, and how much of this were expenses borne by other entities, state, federal government? Could we maybe get that information provided?
think the precise funding was variable for each trip.
Through the presiding member, I can speak to the costs borne by council.
Thank you.
Which are in the order of $58,000. In terms of the in-kind external funding, I'd need to take that on notice.
I'm happy to receive it on notice, but it's nice to know that we haven't only expended on this, noting that it was a joint effort, this attempt. And I think this is part of our contribution to the wider recognition of Adelaide on a global stage. This is exactly what we should be having the Lord Mayor to do. Anyway, thank you for your efforts, Lord Mayor.
Thank you.
I don't think I put my hand up to speak, Lord Mayor.
Only to say, Lord Mayor, that I understand what Councillor Davis is getting at in the sense of us spending our money, but I have to say, Lord Mayor, that it was money worth spending. I think you did an amazing job, and I think you represented our city beautifully, and I thank you for all your hard work and that you have given the city in regards to this matter and this trying to bring COP30 to the City of Adelaide. It was something that was once an opportunity that could not be missed, and I personally do thank you, and I know that if it was successful, it would have been something that we would have all been very thrilled about.
Councillor Noon.
I concur exactly with Councillor Couros and Councillor Martin and everyone else that has said nice things tonight about you representing us. You didn't actually only represent us, but you actually represented Australia, really. Now, I actually represent council on the Business Events Adelaide Board, and we had a board meeting a couple of weeks ago, and we got the stats of the hospitality, and of course, you know, there's impact, and that's not surprising because of the flawed process of COP, this flawed selection process that we were all caught up in. But at the end of the day, everybody says that this was one of the best things that we really did, and we are going to reap the rewards of this, because one of the most, if you look at the outcomes of the administration report, that is what it's all about, and it has put us on the map in that area. I think it was really important to be there, and we will reap those rewards, and you should be absolutely commended for, because you didn't have a Premier, you didn't have a Prime Minister, you were there representing Australia and South Australia, and we should be all in awe of you for what you did.
Thank you. I think we've got to the end of that debate. So, Councillor Seam, do you want to sum up?
I was going to share some words, but I think most members have actually said what I was going to cover myself, Lord Mayor, so I'll say that I'm summed up.
So the motion is only for noting, and there's no pecuniary benefit for me, so I'm in the room still. So can I put that to the vote? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. And now we're moving on to councillors' reports. Can I go around the room, starting Councillor Martin, Councillor Cavada, Councillor Kouros. We're all too worn down. Councillor Freeman, Councillor Marr, Councillor Davis, Sorry? Yes, of course you can. No, I passed over you too quickly. Please feel free.
Well, Mayor, it's a personal explanation. I rise to, I don't know if it's an explanation, but I rise to apologise to Councillor Martin for raising my voice. In this council, I'm very passionate about democracy and everyone having a say. I don't like being interrupted when I'm trying to speak, but I do apologise for yelling in this chamber.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very generous of you. Councillor Marr, Councillor Davis.
I just wanted to say I quite enjoyed the Lord Mayor's Christmas party where we got to invite whoever we wanted. It was a beautiful occasion. We got to look over the city as the sun set, dining away and drinking on ratepayers' money. I would very much like to see the guest list. I was very much concerned to see a whole bunch of who's who of Adelaide, particularly members of Parliament like Robert Sims and the Wortleys, and even former colleagues of Josh Teague. I thought that was quite bizarre that we would have members of Parliament to come along and dine on, drink on ratepayers' money, but it was a lovely evening, and I particularly enjoyed the speeches of the night. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Siebentritt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you to the opportunity to meet on your behalf with the Peruvian ambassador who came and saw us here. Just to share a few things he wanted us to be aware of is that there is a strong interest in Peruvian students coming to Australia, and we should be looking to do more to encourage them to come to Adelaide. I understand he'll be back in Adelaide in August next year, and I suggest we look for other opportunities to engage with him.
Thank you. Councillor Noon. Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, I rise to make an apology by way of a personal explanation. On Thursday, 4th of December, I was the MC at a civic event and made some remarks in what I thought was good humour about Councillor Martin. On reflection, I realised that my words were inappropriate in the social context and caused unnecessary hurt and angst to Councillor Martin and his family. That was not my intention, and I seek to clarify one detail in particular, which is that I had only received a cease and desist notice and an associated request for an apology, but no defamation proceedings were ever instituted against me by Councillor Martin. I've had the opportunity to discuss this matter privately with Councillor Martin, and I apologise unreservedly and do so now publicly. And if I may make one more reflection, Lord Mayor, I think we come into this chamber in some cases not knowing our council colleagues, but I'd like to think that when we do leave this chamber we have some sort of a relationship. In this case, I've actually known Councillor Martin for over 20 years. I've known him for longer than everyone else in this chamber. And I'd like to continue that relationship when we both retire from this council.
Thank you very much for your words. Councillor?
Yeah, Lord Mayor, may I graciously, as graciously as I can, accept the apology. I very much regret the circumstances, but I am grateful for the words of Councillor Abraham today, who indeed I have known for a couple of decades.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, councillors. So we will now move on to 21, which is the motions on notice. I'm sorry, did you want to have anything recorded in the minutes? No? Should I have said that?
Can we record that? Are we able to minute it, please?
Can I just seek a mover and a seconder? I apologise for that. Councillor Martin, would you move it?
Yes, and may I also ask that my acceptance of the apology
is that all right,
recorded?
Councillor Abraham? So all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. I apologise for going ahead too fast. 21.1, which is a motion about savings. Councillor Siebentritt.
I'm happy to move it, Lord Mayor, but I'll reserve my right for the time being.
Councillor Marr seconded. Any debate? Everybody's so
Nothing to
worn
add.
down.
Reserve my right, please.
Councillor Kouros.
in regards to administration's comment, they say to fully investigate potential savings, understand questions of efficiencies, but etc., require effort and additional resourcing, including external support. Through you, Lord Mayor, to administration, why would we need external support in regards to this matter?
I'll have to ask the CEO.
Through the presiding member, it's a matter of capacity within the internal organisation. Yes, we do have some expertise, but we also have a very significant work program within the finance team, which would normally lead this process, and we'll need to seek some external support.
I find, can I speak to that, Lord Mayor? I'm in support of this motion, but I don't understand why we need to. I still don't understand why we still need the external support. We managed last term of council to find $20 million worth of efficiencies, and that was done by the previous CEO without any extra support, I believe. So I think in this line of work, to actually engage on external people and spending money unnecessarily, I think there's something that we should do in the capacity that we have within our own team. If we don't have the skill set, then that needs to be addressed. And if the CEO thinks that they don't have the skill set amongst our staff, then I understand if it needs to go to external.
Thank you, Councillor Noon first.
I'm actually going to support this. I totally understand that why this would actually, some of this would be outsourced, especially when it comes to early stage adoption of AI, and I think that that's a really, really important area that we need to look at. And this is very new to everybody, and I'm using some of this in my own institute, looking at how we can actually adopt AI, and certainly it's very specialised. And I wouldn't expect that anybody in the council would actually have those expertise. And I actually think that, you know, I like the idea of a bit of an independent lens on some of this. So I think that this is a good motion that I will be supporting. Thank you.
Thank you. I think this is a great motion after 3 years in council to look at some efficiencies and savings. I'm surprised we didn't do that from the very beginning, and I'm surprised that it's not a KPI of the CEO to do that every single year. I would encourage the administration to consider a few ideas that I would have. I think the first thing would be removing the committees and saving $120,000, $115,000 to pay elected members to chair committees that can go for 20 minutes sometimes, and the governance costs associated with that. I believe that there are significant savings by not spending money on overseas trips. I think that we could improve our behavioural management code so that we don't spend a fortune on lawyers. Sending lawyers to court cases to watch, costing us $100,000 would also be a very good start. And I can see that there are huge inefficiencies within the administration as it is. So I would welcome external support actually to give an outside lens. Although then, you know, Court-Mentha tried this with the health department. That was a complete disaster. So I do think that we should look at this closely and potentially bring in potentially other CEOs from around the state to look at how we can improve our efficiency and savings to try and reduce the bloat of the bureaucracy and keep things tight and efficient and moving forward. And I do commend the last council for making those savings, and I think that we should be doing the same and continually tightening our belt. I would like to see that as a KPI for the CEO each and every year to deliver on that. But I look forward to the report and the savings, because I don't think that, you know, it could well be that the council is the most efficient and effective organisation within the state with not a single dollar of efficiency that could be found, or we couldn't improve productivity, not 1%. Could well be the case, but I would look forward to seeing the report anyhow.
Councillor Marr.
Thank you. I seconded this and I support it. I just have a perhaps more of a suggestion and a request rather than alternative or any variation to this regarding the portion of the report that will speak to the AI. I would suggest that we include some sort of comment on the legalities of Gen AI in the report. It's all well and good to talk about savings, efficiencies and so on, but if we can't do it, we can't do it. So I'd like to see that in the report once we get there. And I'd also like to see some sort of discussion about the different types of AI. Are we using large language models for our own analysis to inform our own decisions? Are we just using it as an analysis tool, or are we using it to generate content without human input? That's the kind of stuff I'd like to see in the report. I'm not proposing an alternative or anything to this motion, but that's the specific content I think we should be looking at once we receive that report. Thank you.
Councillor Siebentrich, do you wish to sum up or can we vote?
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I would like to sum up. So the intent behind this is to work through savings and efficiencies and alternative revenue streams in a systematic way. I think we've almost had some frivolous comments here tonight about the intention behind this. That's not what this is all about. What it is about is tackling this perception that there is somehow fat in the system. I've seen over the last 3 years the administration work systematically through to try and identify opportunities for savings. If there are additional savings, well then let's find them here. But also importantly, this does call for looking at alternate revenue streams. This has been an area of interest from other councils for a number of years, and I feel like we've probably only just scratched the surface of that. The other thing it is doing, which perhaps we haven't tackled before, and Councillor Mars just noted his interest in our AI, I believe that is an area where there may be significant additional savings in the future, and that's perhaps something we haven't explored. So I encourage members to support the motion.
On notice, questions? Without notice? There are none. And then we'll move on to item 25, which is the exclusion of the public.
No, sorry, Lord Mayor, I did have a question without notice.
I missed you.
Thank you. At the Christmas party last week, Lord Mayor, you had a great summary in your reflection on the year of how many metres of footpath improvement we delivered. And just because I'm the resident bike guy, I did think, what is the measure of cycling improvement we've delivered in the city, and what is that number? I know that Mr Macready's team is busily preparing an implementation plan for the integrated transport strategy next year, and I'm actually quite excited to have a look at that. But I would like to ask the question, what did we deliver this year, just to help guide that planning.
Councillor, I think we need time to assemble an answer for that. Can maybe take it on notice and get back to you?
Yes, thank you.
So we'll move on now to item 25. In order to exclude, there are 6 exclusion clauses, so I have to take one at a time. To exclude for 26, moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Freeman. All those in favour? To move for item 27, moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Noon. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. For item 28.1, moved by Councillor Marr, seconded by Councillor Kabada. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you, members. 28.2, moved by Councillor Kabada, seconded by Councillor Marr. All those in favour? Thank you. And then 28.3, moved by Councillor Kabada, seconded by Councillor Noon. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And lastly, Councillor Kabada, 28.4, moved by Councillor Kabada, seconded by Councillor Davis. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Now we'll move on to the actual items.